the Nen Show Podcast, where we never reuse the same idea twice. I'm your host, Craftsdwarf, and this is Math Wiz.
This is.
Yeah. So getting right into it, there was one comment by MG Dragon who asked us, or he was, we haven't been like I said way in the beginning, like, oh, if you wanna read along, that'd be great, wouldn't it? But then I feel like I've made no concessions for the audience to do that. Like last time I was mentioned that, oh, we're gonna read up to chapter 627, and then we didn't.
Yeah.
Because I felt like we had enough to discuss in just the chapters we read.
But even up to this point, we haven't been saying like, oh yeah, we're gonna read this section of the story, but we never really said like, this is from this chapter to this chapter. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, right. And I mean, part of the problem is that we're like, with One Piece, like, I know One Piece inside out, so it'll be pretty easy for me to set up what we're gonna read. But for Naruto, like, we're not as familiar with it, and the arcs listed on the Wikia are kind of poop. So it's not like that's been the biggest help. And this is also our first podcast, so we're still trying to, like, or our first series we're doing on the podcast, and, well, it's my first podcast. So we're still trying to work it out, and so so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in the descriptions, I'm going to start including what the next set of chapters we're going to read is, so if we don't mention it in the podcast, because next time, the plan now is, because that's the other thing, is we had a change of plans, so we were going to read 627 up to this, for this episode, but then I read up to 559, I was like, holy shit, that was a lot of chapters, and we're going to read more, and also Mathwiz, your other podcast, Hallway Chats, records the Monday before the Wednesday or Thursday we record Nen Show, so you have less time to read. So you were like, oh shit, I've got to read more than 100 chapters in a day? That's going to be insane. And I'm like, we should probably fix that. So what we're going to do...
That's more so just poor scheduling on my part.
I mean, but still, it would be better if we try to avoid it even close to happening in the future. So this week we're doing up to 559. Next week, we're recording a week early, kind of. We're doing up to 627. And then 2 weeks later, we'll be finishing Naruto. That's the current plan. So yeah, I just thought I'd answer that question with an explanation. So do you have any comments? Probably about Naruto.
Yeah, you did kind of cover the main one that I was, the one about the chapters. Because, I mean, that's going to be a little bit trickier when we're getting to stories that neither of us have experience with, like when we cover Bleach.
Oh, that's going to be... I have no idea how we're going to do that.
But we can give it a shot.
Okay, so, I guess another comment I have is that, Austin, Case, and Miz pointed out that the six-tailed beast, I think it was the six-tailed beast, is a horse with a dolphin for a head, and I didn't recognize the dolphin because dolphins don't have the big eyes or horns. But now I can see it, and, I mean, I'm not sure why, like, I mean, I guess it's a mammal and a sea animal, kind of like the octopus is, but, sure, okay, that question has been answered. I guess while we're on that topic, who was it? Oh, I guess didn't write it down, but there were some people who were we're talking about the Kasame. Oh, there it is. Fuzzy Pickler and Shadow Priest both mentioned that the Akatsuki were planned to have an animal theme, but Kishimoto dropped it, and you can still kind of see it in Kasame and Sasori, and even, I guess, Itachi and Orochimaru too, because they're crow and snake, but he kind of dropped it later on, so... And I think Fuzzy Pickler in particular suggested that his shark form is like a Sage Mode kind of thing, just with shark chakra. I mean, it was never mentioned, so I could buy it, but whatever. It was just a weird thing, but at least I know it from why it's the case from a, meta perspective or the out of series perspective. Because that also explains this freaky Akatsuki silhouettes I was freaking out about back at the end of part 1. Because there was like a guy bigger than Kasame and some mermaid on a wall. And I was like, what the fuck is the deal with these guys? And now I know.
Yeah, that actually does make a whole lot of sense now. One of the things we were confused about, and now it has been solved.
Yeah. Was that your only comment?
I actually did have one comment that I kind of wanted to respond to in brief, just to it's sort of a, I don't know, just kind of addressing what I view out of this podcast. I don't know if I kind of discussed this with you the other day. But yeah. Someone had left a comment talking about, just, I guess, like the nature of this podcast, the type of, quote unquote criticisms that we offer. And I just kind of want to get this out of the way in case anyone thought otherwise, or if I ever...
I mean, I thought we'd already cleared it up, but apparently this guy missed it, so...
This is, like, for me, I view the Nen Show as just, like, we read Naruto and just kind of discuss our thoughts on it. It's less of a, like, an out-and-out critique of the material. It's more so just, like, this is what we read, this is what we thought, and then, like, maybe we try to offer a few, analytical nuggets here and there.
Exactly.
But, I don't know,
I mean, yeah, I agree, because, like, if it was a purely critical thing, then, like last time, there was a few comments about the hyperventilation. Like, one person, who was it? Mies pointed out that, like, hyperventilating is really an internal feeling, so he understood, like, people understood why I didn't connect with it, which, you know, like, if it was purely from a critical perspective, I would have just, like, okay, I understand why this is happening to Naruto. I left it at that, but, you know, it's all, part of the podcast is also our opinions, what we felt about what we're reading, so, you know, maybe we could stand to tone that down a little bit, but, yeah. Did you have anything else on that comment, or should I go deep into I have a pretty big list.
No, that was it.
Okay, so another one, okay, AC Jackson and Hunter Kage Joestar had a bit of a comment thread about the thing with Nagato getting the Rinnegan from Obito, and apparently, like, that happened during the Third Shinobi War when Obito was just a child, so he couldn't have done that, so it must have been, but then Madara was dead, so he couldn't have done it either, so even if Toby was pretending to be Madara and say that Madara gave Pain the Rinnegan, then that doesn't make sense either. So they didn't clear it up at all. But I think it was Hunter Kage, suggested that maybe it was a Black Zetsu, and from what I know in the future, he's sort of working with Kaguya and maybe Madara, or I don't there's a lot of shit going on up there that I don't know about yet, so maybe it'll get explained. But as of now, I don't think that, like, I feel like that Toby saying it to Conan was just to fuck her up, rather than actually say that he did it, which, maybe, alright. You know, I mean, again, like I said, it mostly risks taking away from Pain's character, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Another comment from Hunter Kage Joestar, he was asking about what were our opinions on Sasuke during the Kage Summit arc before reading it. I forget if we mentioned exactly. Like, I know you've talked about your feelings on Sasuke in general, but what about him during that arc specifically? Yeah,
I know when I first watched Naruto, the anime, like I said, I was not too fond of Sasuke's character around this point. I mean, like, I also hated Danzo at the time, so his fight with Danzo was okay for me. But I was not super sold on his character, so I've had a bit of an epiphany, a revelation since then. So I'm much more...
Because from my perspective, I was on 4chan at the time, and at this point, you know, Sasuke going full edgelord birthed many a meme, and so I was content to laugh around with that for a while. Like, part of it was the translation. Like, when he was talking with Gaara, he's in one of the fan translations, he said, "My darkness is greater than yours," and which is just a perfect silly line. It was much more reasonable in the official translation, that line. And then of course the one I thought was weird even rereading it was the big 2-page spread of Sasuke's face as he stabbed Danzo. That was still a little like I said, memes will ruin you. But yeah, I do think him going full edgelord lost some of the viewers, even though I do think he has good reasons for doing it, both on a narrative and character standpoint, especially rereading it. But at the time, I definitely didn't care. I was just sort of, at that point, I think I stopped giving a shit about Naruto, and I was just sort of along for the ride, and I didn't drop it until somewhere during this stretch of chapters that we're reading, which I'll probably mention in the future.
At this point, I kind of have both an ironic and an unironic appreciation of Sasuke's character. Like, I've already elaborated on, I mean, we've discussed why I think he's a well-written character before, but sometimes I just kind of take a step back and I think about, like, why did I dislike him in the first place, or why do other people dislike him, and I see some of the things that he says or does. I'm just like, yeah, out of context, it is kind of funny.
I don't know what ironic enjoyment is, and at this point, I'm too afraid to ask. Anyway, speaking of Sasuke, Kongo Nut and Sasuke Shoto fan, or only Sasuke, beat an Akatsuki member without previous intel. He changed his name, and the old one was better, or easier to say.
Rolls right off the tongue.
They had a bit of a conversation, because last time I commented on how I felt like it was possible that the reason Sasuke was abandoning his comrades was because, he sees them as having failed him during the Killer Bee fight. And I mean, maybe not. Like, that was just kind of an in-the-moment thought I had, because, Kongo Nut pointed out that Sasuke did have his life saved several times by his friends during that fight. And if Sasuke tried to fight Killer Bee on his own, he would have gotten destroyed, let's be fucking honest. he got destroyed even with them.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess, like, part of the reason I wasn't necessarily saying it was a rational thought of his, but at the same time, I don't think, like, most of his other actions have some kind of logic behind them, so it was just a thought. Because I feel like the Danzo tunnel vision explains his actions well enough, I guess, the thing at the end was briefly confusing me with Karin, because he just abandoned her, but I guess it makes sense that he wouldn't. Like, what is she gonna do, forgive him after he stabbed her? Like, I don't know. Yeah, it was just a little conversation there. I have, like, okay, this one just real quick. Thrifty Bee said that Fairy Tail has better written female characters than Naruto. He will be waking up with the corpse of a horse with a dolphin's head in his bed.
Oh no.
Yeah, no. But seriously, I have a video. Not only do I have a video, the part 3 of my Fairy Tail series that sort of breaks that down. Just the idea of Mashima having written a good character who happens to be female. But also I love there was a comment, I think I favorited it because it was good on that video, where they commented before watching the video and they were like, oh, I've been hoping to hear this discussed. You know, how Mashima handled his female characters always reminded me of how, Kishimoto handled his female characters. And then it's like, after watching the video, there's like, edit, never mind, it's way worse. And I just laughed because I think that just sums up Fairy Tail. It's like, wow, Fairy Tail is pretty bad. No, it's worse. Because the more you think about it, the worse it gets. So I love that comment was great. Anyway, I have 2 more. Awesome Ninja left several comments. Well, one thing he said specifically about his comments is that he left them separately in case we, like, noted down one of them. And because if he went back and edited it, we might not see the edit. I don't think that's a problem because I pretty much only, I looked at the comments over this morning, before we started recording. And you did it yesterday, I think?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I don't really have I can understand, I guess, the sentiment that, oh, well, if the comment is this giant block of text with several different points in it, that might seem sort of iffy, but I don't really have a problem with that. We could just, like, if we really didn't want to discuss everything in the comment, we could just kind of cherry pick between the points.
Yes, and I mean, the only problem is, like, the one time where there was a shitload of comments, and I was trying to do it before the recording, and I was already kind of tired because I had just woken up, and I was like, fuck it, at one point, but I still had enough to discuss. But yeah, again, we could cherry pick out of the longer comments. Oh, well, he also mentioned that he mentioned the idea of Sakura basically not wanting to lose Naruto either, because, I mean, Naruto even said at the end of the arc that he's willing to die to bring Sasuke back, so Sakura trying to, being willing to be with Naruto might be her, you know, just trying to keep Naruto there so she doesn't lose everything, you know, sort of not quite giving up on, I guess, yeah, giving up on Sasuke, you know, even though she doesn't love Naruto as much, or she loves Naruto in a different way, you know, so, and that was a neat interpretation, so I was like, yeah, maybe that's cool. And I guess the last comment I wanted to talk about, because Cherry Boy Writer mentioned that if Sakura was just a nurse, like a medic, she wouldn't get as much hate as she does, and that, well, see, I want to agree because you know, I understand the point, but I also don't think that's the case because people who read shonen stuff can be stupid sometimes. And so to explain what I mean, because I agree that I like Sakura wouldn't have the problems as a character she does if she wasn't in a military force. Like she wants to be stronger, yet Kishimoto won't let her have the moments where she gets to be stronger, which begs the question of why even have that as a part of her character at all. Well, because I want to compare it, because One Piece gets shit, you know, for Nami and Robin, who are, they are characters who don't get a lot of fights at all. But at the same time, One Piece is about the adventure, not the action. So, not, like, they contribute to this, you know, they have character moments, they have stories, like Nami's the navigator, she's, you know, important to any time they're sailing, and she's smart. They're both smart, they're the smartest characters on the crew. Like, they offer things to the story and plot without having to fight. Like, it's not necessary. So, not that there aren't still problems, but, you know, it's not as bad as some people say. Compare this to how, like, in Fairy Tail, Lucy. Mages are, again, they're like ninjas. They have to fight. So, but Lucy's weaknesses are never commented upon. The fact that she's a weak fighter, the fact that she always has to rely on someone else, even excluding her fighting style, like, it's not meaningfully expanded on, even when it could, like, you know, and that could be interesting. Like, look at, like, I think Deku from My Hero Academia. He's, you know, his whole thing is that he's using powers that he has no idea, he only just got them. You know, his weakness is something commented upon in the story. So, you know, it can be interesting so, yeah, it's just disappointing when you have something like Sakura where he's kind of not being that well handled. So, I don't know, he just landed on just a point that I've been meaning to get out there. But,
This actually reminded me that in my recent video that I posted about My Hero Academia and Naruto, I got a few comments in there. One of them in particular I'll probably be addressing in a future episode of, well, I mean, we're going to have like 2 left, but it's interesting. Well, I'll save it for later, because it's not exactly relevant at the moment.
Okay, so that was my last comment.
And I'm saying that now so I don't forget to mention it later.
Write it down somewhere. But yeah, lots of good discussion. I'm pretty satisfied with how it's going. So anyway, on to the series itself, because last time I think I was just sick of having recorded for like almost 4 hours, because I was like, the third Hokage, or the third Tsuchikage is fighting Kabuto, whatever, I don't care, I'm tired, I want to go to bed. I gotta edit this fucking 5-hour podcast. So we're...
Yeah, this fight is just sort of moving pieces into place. Like, Kabuto's got to get Yamato for the stuff for the war. It's just some setup there. But Deidara is back. Deidara is back.
Yep, he's you ruined him for me, because I was rereading these stretch of chapters, and every time he went I was like, God fucking damn it, Mathwas. Now I'm noticing it. I wasn't noticing it before, but now every time he fucking speaks, I see it. I just see those 3 letters, the HMM, just staring at me. But yeah, they have a little scuffle, and like this happened in the chapters we read. I just didn't comment on it because, again, I was tired. But yeah, Kabuto kidnaps Yamato and sort of makes off. I mean, is it really a fight? Like, they kind of scuffle a bit, but like no one really gets, you know, hurt. They all just kind of avoid major damage, and then Kabuto makes off with Yamato. So, like, I guess they're kind of exploring some of the powers of, like, what's her name? Kurosuchi? The chick? I think I only remember because they're all named after colors. And, like, rock, like, she's Black Rock. Akatsuchi is Red Rock. And then, like, there's a character later who's, like, Kisuchi. He's, like, yellow. So, yeah. So, moving on a bit, we get a bit more training with Naruto and Killer Bee. Which, I don't know, I felt like it didn't... I guess it's, yeah, just Naruto learning how to control his Biju chakra mode by stacking blocks, and it's like, it's just, they're keeping Naruto out of the danger, or out of the fighting, so other characters can do things. I don't know, as far as training goes, this is definitely, like, the least interesting Naruto's training has ever been. It's literally just stacking rocks.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, I mean, I guess maybe before you could kind of make a case that maybe there was, like, I don't know, the training before this point wasn't heavily steeped in, like, character growth or anything like that, but this just kind of felt the least removed from, like, his character. It's just sort of...
Yeah, like, I mean, we had problems with the Kyuubi taming and the Dark Naruto, or I thought it could have been better with the Dark Naruto, but at least it was something on a character note. The Sage Mode, the mechanics of Sage Mode were interesting enough to justify it, especially with how they came into the fight later. And then before that, yeah, the Rasen Shuriken, like, I've been bitching about the elemental system for several episodes now, and I might get to do more of it later. Just saying. Because it doesn't come up once! You got all these different elemental releases, all these fucking new lava, and dust, and none of the fucking elemental... Like, the only thing that matters is that it's elements. Like, elemental jutsus make these different releases, but the actual, like, elemental rock, paper, scissors doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all, just, but at least in that training, you could kind of see why, like, it was more interesting than this, so, So yeah, kind of while they're doing that, they're like, the Kages are planning tactics and separating their groups into, to fight, and then we see a bunch of the Edo Tensei revived bodies, like, which we'll get to talk about more later, but except for the Jinchuriki, those guys haven't done much in the stretch of chapters we read yet. But yeah, like you said earlier, it's just mostly people being moved into place. But we do get a bit more, like, there's some little bits, like we have Zabuza and Haku are talking to each other, like, hey, we're not dead. And then you've got the Asuma talking to Don, who I believe is related to Tsunade. I think it's Tsunade's boyfriend or former lover, I think. But just kind of talking. Well, because okay, should we talk about Edo Tensei? No, let's talk about it later. Because Edo Tensei, man. Okay, because there's a cool little scene here where we got Gaara trying to rally the troops because everyone's like being there's some old rivalries that have between villages and stuff. I don't know, what'd you think of Gaara's speech?
I mean, I thought it was, I guess, kind of cool that the big leader of the, I know he's not like the overall leader. I think that was the Raikage. He had that big supreme commander position or whatever. But I don't know. I thought it was cool that like the leader of this military, like, I don't know, Gaara, he's the youngest of all the Kage, but he's still got a pretty important and pretty powerful position. And so he, like, I don't know, just his mentality, the way it's been brought up, even including like back at the Five Kage Summit, he's got, I guess, like a different mindset than these older Kage, which, I don't know, I guess it's interesting just to show how, in a way, he's sort of an extension of what Naruto has been doing, like how he has the power to like convince people through words instead of like battling.
Right.
And so with Gaara, he kind of, like with Gaara back at the Kage Summit, he had the influence to sort of, or he had the power to sort of influence the other Kage to kind of, or at least definitely the Tsuchi Kage. He was able to, I don't know, like reshape their mentalities a bit. And so now here he is leading this war, and this is kind of like, it's, I guess, the big shining moment for his character, because he went from being the outcast of the Sand Village who murdered a lot of people, and eventually he comes around and gets this sort of redemption where now not only is he the Kazekage, the leader of the Sand Village, but he's now the leader of this massive army, and sort of convincing all these other people to cooperate using his own experiences, as, you know, he was once the Jinchuriki, so he kind of could relate to the Akatsuki in a way, like he once had that part of himself that just wanted to destroy. And I thought that was cool to kind of use that past experience as like a way to show, this is how I've grown and this is what we could accomplish. I don't know. I like him as the leader. I like his role so far in this arc. Yeah,
it was a good moment. I don't want to drive it home, but it would have been better if his character up to this point had been more well executed. But, I like how he was able to, again, sort of using his experience with the Akatsuki to sort of, push everyone against them, because it is, Shinobi versus Akatsuki. He's had that experience. He's fought against Naruto and then worked with Naruto. He was able to go through exactly what all these ninjas need to go through right now. So, he was like the perfect character to give this speech. So it was pretty cool. God damn, there's a lot of talking, but then like I'm actually like, how much is there to discuss really? Because I guess there's a fight with Sai and Kankuro versus Sasori and Sai's brother. So I guess we could talk about that. What did you think about this fight? I
will say that I did enjoy the earlier fights in this arc. This one was, I think, fairly solid. I know, like, Kankuro and Sai they're not, like, super huge, important characters, but still you get to see Kankuro kind of play off of Sasori a bit more, kind of get some redemption there. And then, of course, Sai, the stuff with his brother. And, of course, Datara's in the fight, so he's always cool.
Yeah, and they're sort of establishing the Edo Tensei mechanics, like how it works. And yeah, I did like the bit where, because I was confused a bit earlier about how Sasori was revived, or while reading it rather, but then I realized that, because I thought, Kankuro has Sasori's corpse. But then of course it turns out that you actually don't need the whole corpse to revive a person. You just need a living body, and just some of their blood will be fine, apparently. I think that's all Kabuto used. But, so yeah, it's fine. But yeah, because I did like having the puppet Sasori come out against, which confirmed what we were thinking last time. But,
and I can see what Kishimoto's going for here. Like, his goal with this arc was to kind of showcase, because it's a grand war, so he's got to go into, like, all the different stories and kind of, give it that grand scale. And I definitely see what he's going for. At certain points throughout the arc, I'm just not interested in some of the characters or fights.
Right.
But, like, I can understand why he did it, and I don't have huge problems with it, which we'll get to later on. But I don't know.
Yeah, I did not
kind of like what he's going for.
This part of the arc as much as I thought that I would, or could, have disliked this part, or these parts.
I know, I think the fight between, like, the Sai, Kankuro, and Sasori Datara stuff, that might have been possibly the most interesting early part, for me, at least.
Yeah. Well, because, like, one aspect to it I liked was sort of playing... Because Sai is a character who, like, he wasn't introduced when this stuff was originally happening. Or at least he wasn't major. Because now you have his art being played against Deidara's and Sasori's ideas of art. And, which is, I guess, mildly interesting because it's, Sai's art that, unmakes his brother. Like, his brother sees his book and dies. Well, which I also... Like, the Edo Tensei needs a weakness, but I also feel like by introducing this part of the weakness so early, he kind of wrote himself into a corner, because he, like, immediately has Kabuto go, like, I can't do that, but then it feels like, some of them all lock their emotions, and some of them all leave having emotions, because
I think
the weakness
these are, like, from what we've seen so far, these were the only two. I think it's Sasori and Sai's brother. Those are the only two that kind of, like, fizzle out, or at least thus far, as we've read. So it just seems like a weird mechanic to introduce. It's not that I don't like it, because I think kind of, giving these characters some sort of, like, emotional resolution or whatever is
idea,
kind of cool.
You can kind of see what he's going for, because again, think about the theme of, like, peace versus violence. They're literally destroyed by peace rather than violence. So, but at the same time, and this kind of goes into my sort of issue with this theme in... No, I almost want to say in general, but, because, I mean, we haven't read, like, Trigun yet, which I think the character is, like, a pacifist, so I don't know how well it's going to be, the idea is going to be explored there. But, like, okay, because you gotta remember, it's an action shonen. It's a battle shonen. The point is they fight. We're here to watch fucking ninjas use crazy powers and fight. So, having them be talked to death is kind of unsatisfying. Like, that's kind of like, I get that it's his character moment for both Sasori and Sai's brother, but it felt unsatisfying. Like, they didn't win through a cool trick or an interesting use of a power. They just, like, I feel like I want to die, and then they die. And so, like, to compare is, do you remember in Hunter x Hunter when Gon's thinking about fighting Hisoka and he's, like, shaking because he's fucking excited? Like, yeah, that's the point. That's what we're here for. Like, they could have gone the pacifist route and say, like, well, fighting's wrong, but I gotta do it No, we're here to see cool fights. We're here to see crazy powers and cool tricks. Like, it's an action shonen. I'm sorry. But, so I like, on some level, I kind of just, like, it's an interesting idea to explore, but I'm just hesitant to say it's, like, again, I don't want to, like, hold the entire genre into, like, no, it has to be this way. But, it depends on what is it in service to, and the question is, like, are the ideas of peace worth throwing out what could have been a good fight? Like, not that I've really liked the fights in Naruto, in general. Like, this one had some moments, but, you were saying something.
Yeah, I think my issue mainly with this idea was that he doesn't really commit to it. It kind of, like, these two characters go down, but then nobody else, at least up to this point, has, and I don't recall anyone else really doing that. Because, like, you have opportunities for, like, there's a fight with Asuma later, and he gets sealed away. He doesn't have that. Even though you could argue that there was a character moment for him, like, he could have just sort of fizzled away in the same way.
Why not?
So I feel like maybe
that's felt arbitrary to me. But
I don't know if maybe he was. I don't know if maybe he was going to go with this idea and then just kind of decided to stop.
Because I think what happened is because he wrote this weakness in, that leads to sort of uninteresting ending, or not, potentially predictable and uninteresting endings. Like, every fight they're gonna find some emotional connection. Like, because it even happened with new characters like Hanzo. He suddenly has a connection with Mifune, and we get a flashback, and you get another moment that could have ended with, or maybe it did end with Hanzo just disintegrating, but it didn't happen because, because to give a similar example, in One Piece, there's an arc with, just bear with me, there's an arc with a bunch of zombies, and the weakness gets introduced that if they ingest salt, they get destroyed, basically. And this was, like, after he'd introduced, like, the super unit of special zombies. And then, because of this weakness, he just sort of, like, writes them out. They all get destroyed by this other big zombie. So you kind of have a similar moment where, like, a weakness gets introduced to a highly specific foe, and then as a result, every fight against that one specific foe becomes boring. So in One Piece's case, he just wrote that enemy out. But in Naruto's case, he can't, so instead he had Kabuto sort of like, well, I'm gonna kind of cut off the emotions, but not really. So, which is why you get that shit, cause like, there's the fight later with the Mizukage, and he's talking about how, like, he keeps explaining his powers to his enemies. And I thought about it, and it actually makes sense why these characters keep doing it, because they're dead. They're fighting their former comrades and fellow, village ninjas. So they probably want to die on some level. And so they're giving their enemies advice, but their bodies are moving on their own, which is, it's kind of silly, but I guess it makes sense. But
see, I really like that mechanic. I really like that part of the Edo Tensei, especially, I mean, like with the clam guy, the Mizukage. I thought it was kind of cool. Well, that'll be later. We can get into it later. But I just like the idea of like these characters not like they're brought back against their will, and you still like they haven't lost their personalities. Because I think I said this in a prior podcast.
Yes, we said
like
that
if
last
it was
time.
just like there is a mechanic that Kabuto can use to make them mindless zombies, but that's far less interesting to read as a story.
But at the same time, like, it's kind of weird that he's not doing that, even though, like, we see the negative aspect of that happen right here with Sai's brother and Sasori. But then later on, we kind of get the best of both of it. We get the characters having emotions, but then we don't get the part that makes sense. We get the more satisfying victories, arguably. But even though they're two things that shouldn't be together, we should either get the emotional character getting unmade and the unemotional character getting sealed up. But he's kind of like Kishimoto's cheating, basically, by just sort of giving his characters their personality and then ignoring the ramifications of them having their personality in service of this not happening again. So
I'm not quite sure I'm following what you're trying to say here.
I'm saying like Asuma and Hanzo probably should have been destroyed like Sai's brother and Sasori did, where they just sort of unmake themselves instead of getting sealed away. But they aren't, because Kishimoto didn't because again, I feel like it's kind of unsatisfying for this to happen. And
well, yeah, see, my problem with it is I don't think they should have fizzled away in the first place, because, like I said, it's only these two characters. And the way that the other fights are resolved, like, it kind of goes to say that, you can have you can reach this sort of emotional middle ground, but even then, like, they still kind of had to use force to an extent. Unlike with the thing, like, with Sasori, he had already been captured by Kankuro in the puppet, in the Iron Maiden, and so, like, he was already kind of incapacitated, but then you kind of have this moment where he does have that sort of character resolution thing, and with Sai's brother, and at that point, like, he wasn't captured, but you could have, because there was even, like, a little bit of setup for it, where Sai says, well, in the Anbu Black Ops, we're supposed to, you fight your supposed brother, and it's a fight to the death, so it's like, we can have that, and finally resolve that part of his character, but it doesn't happen. Instead, he just kind of fades out. But I do think it would have been, I don't know, I just think it would have worked better to just stick with we have to seal these guys, or we have to trap them away somehow. Because, I mean, I don't know, I think you could make either work, but because he doesn't stick with it, it's just sort of off-putting. It's just kind of there, and it's just not something you can get out of your mind.
Yeah, it didn't, I mean, it's kind of a mess, but
So I think I kind of understand where you're coming from. I guess my solution is just maybe the opposite of yours. I would just say not introduce it at all.
Well, I agree that it shouldn't have been introduced at all, but if you're that's where I feel like Kishimoto made a mistake. He introduced this weakness, and then he had to write around it. Like, he couldn't just have this because otherwise the fights don't become about ninjas beating the shit out of each other. It becomes about trying to wiggle emotions out of the villain, and then it becomes predictable and stale. So he kind of has to just ignore it. That's not necessarily,
because it is like you are still getting emotions out of the characters fighting. So there's you're getting both there. Like with Sai's brother, it's not just Sai's brother who gets the character resolution, but Sai also has his moment. Like, you get the panel I showed you where he, they're manipulating his brother. They're using him like a tool, which is what the whole basis of the Anbu Black Ops was, but he had to kill his emotions or whatever. But then you get the panel where Sai, he shows anger, he shows emotion, and it's great.
Yes. It was so good. That fucking face, man. I'm gonna remember to put it on screen because it's a good panel. It's a good panel. Because again, like, I'm a Sai fan now, which is something I never would have thought I would have said before rereading Naruto. Like,
I'm right there with you.
Top 10 anime plot twists.
Because I remember because when I had first seen this fight in the anime, I did not care at all, because I didn't care about Sai, and like, I thought Kankuro was kind of cool, but I wasn't too invested. But this time around, I saw that panel, and I actually enjoyed it. I had an emotional reaction to it. I got excited. It was good times.
Well, because I didn't realize, like, I liked the panel, but I didn't connect it to Sai showing an emotion. Like, I didn't think about that at the time until now. Like, that was a good point, or a good, because it's cool. you know, does sort of cap off his character a bit. And, like, that's the thing, is that these fights are kind of there to sort of cap off some of these side characters and also make the war feel like it's not just a bunch of, or it's not just Naruto doing things.
If you keep their personalities as well, each fight has a distinct aspect to it, because otherwise they would just be fighting mindless zombies, and that's not very entertaining.
Right, exactly.
I mean, there is still a bit of character conflict, like, oh, these characters still have to fight people they've fought before, people they once loved or whatever. So, like, that part of the conflict is still there, but I think it's, I don't know, a little more poignant.
I guess part of my issue...
when, like, both sides have that emotional connection.
Yeah. I guess I was going to say, like, part of my issue is, like, how many times can you do that before it becomes stale, is what, you know, so,
yeah, that is sort of the risk with this arc being so long, is that by focusing on so many different details, so many different aspects of it, you do run the risk of it kind of getting exhausting after a while, but
right,
I think that's just sort of par for the course.
Short, like, I mean, it was like, what, almost 50 chapters, you know, but yeah, more happened than I thought, so... anyway, I guess, like, do we have anything else to say on the Sai Kankuro fight?
There was actually, before, I think this might have been a little before the fight, but, I do appreciate, because like I said in a previous podcast, it seemed clear to me that Kishimoto had some sort of a plan for what he was going to be doing with this whole, you know, the whole Tobi Madara twist that we get to later, and I do appreciate that in, the early stages of this arc, there's one of many discussions between Tobi and Kabuto talking about the Edo Tensei, and so you do kind of get hints that, well, there could be a weakness to this. You kind of get, well, the panel I'm talking about is Tobi's talking with Kabuto, and he says, well, yeah, there is, like, I do have difficulty controlling all of these different you know, Edo Tensei characters, these different shinobi. So there's, like, a limit to how much he can do, which is also partially why not erasing their personalities right off the bat, like, he doesn't do that right away, because it'd be even more difficult to control everything. But yeah, he does also mention how, like, having the characters keep their personalities will have more of a stronger emotional reaction out of the people they're fighting. So I've just forgotten where I was going with that. Not again.
No, it's fine, it's normal. Well, because another weakness he says is that the person who uses the Edo Tensei will be, like, infamous. Like, people, like, because every time the characters, like, become aware of the fact that they're alive, they're like, oh, it was it was the second Hokage who did this, or something like that, or Mochimaru, or, you know, they mention the people who have done the technique in the past. So, I mean, but the question is, like, is it a meaningful weakness, you know?
Well, no, obviously it's just kind of a joke from Kabuto, because he's like, well, what's the weakness for the Edo Tensei? And he's like, oh, the only weakness is that I'll become infamous, and I don't want my reputation to precede me like that. I want to be in the shadows.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and they also add another, like, limitation where he couldn't revive the fourth or third or any of the Hokages because of the Reaper sealing jutsu that the third used and the fourth used. So, and I was like, oh yeah, like, okay. I mean, I thought they got revived later, but I guess I misheard, because this is we've reached a point where I have not read, like, I've read. I'll mention the point later when I dropped the manga back when I was reading it weekly. But this is the first time I've actually read Naruto material for the first time, not just the first time in like 10 years, just the first time. Period.
See, I know that the former Kage do get revived later, but I'm not gonna say anything more on it because we haven't read that far. So it could be under different circumstances, a different method.
Or Kabuto lied, or, well, that's the thing. There's something that happens later that's really weird, and Kishimoto, what the fuck are you doing? But we'll get to that. I'm trying to think of if you had anything else to say on the Kabuto bit. I guess not.
And then they do kind of go more into the mechanics. Like, you get kind of cuts back and forth between the fights and their discussion, so I'm going to bring up this other thing. I don't know, it's just more explanation of how the Edo Tensei worked. Like, there's a way to control them. I actually don't remember why I took this screenshot now, because I don't really have much to say about it.
It's fine. Because, I mean, well, you do get a brief bit with a bunch of ninjas fighting the Zetsus, but, like, that kind of doesn't matter at all. Like, it's never like, oh, there's an interesting thing that happened with the Zetsu. No, it's just kind of there to keep the bulk of the forces away from the actual fights with, like, named characters, you know? So at least Kishimoto's aware that, like, the Zetsus aren't really interesting as like an opponent, you know? Like, I don't think there's ever a moment where he really focuses on Zetsu, which of course kind of like reveals Zetsu's weakness as being there to make parts of the story work, you know, like watching the Itachi Sasuke fight and giving commentary on it, or, you know, just kind of being exactly where he needs to be. You know, maybe that'll get fixed later when we learn more about Zetsu. Or maybe not. But I guess we did get another fight here with Zabuza. Well, I guess it kind of gets broken up a little bit, but I guess we can talk about this Zabuza and Haku meeting Kakashi again.
See, this was another fight that I did like, sort of flashing back to the early material. So you got the nostalgic feels, but you get to see these characters come back, and, you know, I mean, I do see another thing is that you do get moments where characters are like, oh, well, we're revived. I don't really care for this Edo Tensei jutsu. And,
yeah, Zabuza was completely unenthused about it.
And then you have a moment where Haku put up the ice mirrors to protect Zabuza from a blast, but Zabuza's like, well, you just wasted a technique because we're immortal now. But it's still like that character moment for Haku, because that's what Haku lives for, is to protect Zabuza.
Yeah. And then you get to see them sort of like think about their choices, the choices they made during that arc, like after the fact, which, you know, which I guess is an aspect of the whole character revival thing that's not really brought up a lot. Like, so yeah, that's kind of, I guess that's mildly interesting. But I guess, I don't know, how did I feel about it? Oh,
I guess it is here with, maybe you could see it as a bit odd with, like, Haku and Zabuza, because when they come back, they're getting, like, you know, they get painted in a much not brighter, but like a much more positive light than they were before.
Well, I wouldn't even say much more, considering how they died. Like, we were talking about it last time, 5 million years ago, when we were talking about the Wave Country arc, because it just went like a complete 180 of Zabuza being like the murderous monster guy who gets off on killing people to, you're going to heaven, and we were like, what the fuck? And so this is really just continuing that, but the question, I guess, goes back to like, how deserved does it feel?
Well, no, I meant in that, like, the Kishimoto himself is presenting them in a more positive light, because we see that, oh, yes, that is part of their personality. They, and you get moments from Kakashi like, oh, I'm glad you were Naruto's first opponents, which I do think it's kind of cool, because you think about it,
that bit I liked.
Zabuza and Haku, they're not, like, they do have some respectable traits to them. I don't think that makes them, like, heroic character. Well, he doesn't make them heroic, but, like, that doesn't make them redeemable characters, but like, they do have certain aspects to them, so I can understand why Kakashi would say, well, I'm glad you were Naruto's first opponents, because, you know, you might be terrible people, but you still taught him a lesson. And something that he was able to kind of use to shape his own ideals. Whereas if you compared it, like, if we started the series with a fight against, I don't know, Deidara, you're not going to have that same emotional resonance with Naruto, because Deidara doesn't live to protect people, he doesn't have that kind of a ninja way. Right,
the Zabuza and Haku thing gave Naruto a wider perspective on, like, how, you know, they're bad people, but they still can do good things, you know, which is something a child might not be aware of. So, yeah.
Yes, I do like that aspect of it.
Right, and having that here kind of, like, I guess, I wonder if maybe, like, part of it is maybe Kishimoto, like, realizing, or like sort of, because I wonder like how much of this was already there and we just didn't miss it, like we were too busy bitching about how Zabuza was being handled, or whatever it was that we were complaining about that arc, when we also thought Naruto wasn't that good, or it wasn't, but or whatever it was.
Well, you do get, there was one other moment with Kakashi where, like, you kind of get the recreation of him going to attack Zabuza, but Haku gets in the way and blocks it, and then Zabuza goes to strike him down. But you get, like, sort of an interesting flashback from Kakashi that, I mean, it was there before, I guess, but how he, like, swings to try to cut through Haku, but the first time he did it, way back in the Land of Waves, he hesitated, so that's how Kakashi was able to escape. But this time, Zabuza, because he's a mindless zombie, so he swings and he slashes Kakashi, because
and it wouldn't do anything to Haku anyway, because Haku's already dead.
well, at that point he was being mind controlled by Kabuto, so like you don't even get that like character hesitation from him. So it's like, yep, you're really not Zabuza now. You're not the same person. You're not in control.
So yeah, but yeah, that part was alright. And then okay, how did you feel about the seven swordsmen of the mist?
These were like the problem I kind of have here, and it's not anything like, I guess, a fundamental flaw. It's just, this is one of those parts of the arc where it just kind of, because he's trying to showcase such a grand scale of a war, there are just certain parts where I'm just not invested. Like, it just kind of seems to... I don't want to say it goes on longer than it needs to, because I understand the purpose of having all these other characters and expanding on the lore more to really, again, sell that this is the great ninja war. This is everybody in the world, or all the shinobi in the world clashing.
And, like, it was a question I'd been asking last time. I was like, what are the 7 swordsmen? And apparently, they're all dead. The 7 swordsmen are all dead, except for Suigetsu, who stole Zabuza's sword, and what's-his-face from who's the only one of the swordsmen is just a kid. You know, everyone else died. So, like, they're you know, answering some questions. But then, like, at the same time, it's like, you know, the Zabuza Haku stuff, sure. But, like, what's the point of bringing in this other swordsman, aside from that they exist? Like... I mean, like, I guess there's stuff with Suigetsu's character. Maybe he'll be more relevant later. But, like, I don't know, this whole scene of him just, like, he's talking to Jugo, and it's like, oh, I'm going to talk about all the swordsmen while they get introduced. And it's like, okay, they got all their swords, sure, and they all do different things. But, like, you know, again, it does, at least at this point, it doesn't really matter. So,
yeah, the thing about some of these fights is just, like, I do enjoy the character moments that come out of it, but beyond that, the fights are just fights. So when you get these 7 ninja sword, like, I don't know, that's not a criticism. It's just, again, this is, I guess, more nitpicky on my part. But I just can't get invested in all the fights, especially when you're just introducing new characters like the 7 ninja swordsmen.
Left and right. And
and they're just kind of, like, I don't know anything about their characters, and there's not much, like, it's different when the characters that I know can play off of them in an interesting way, but here it's just a fight. Like, they're enemies, we gotta take them down.
Like, I legitimately do not remember if they actually got, like, if all the swordsmen got beaten. Like, they were just that, like, insignificant. I literally do not remember what, like, Zabuza and Haku got taken out, but I don't remember what happened to those guys at all. Like, I don't care. Who cares about the 7 swordsmen in this? Like, I was mildly interested in, like, what they are to the setting, just because it hadn't been answered, but now they've gotten a better answer, and I'm actually seeing them do stuff, I'm like, oh, okay. Sure, you know, like, I guess part of it is also that they don't really stand out. Like, they're strong ninjas with cool, crazy swords, I guess, but there's tons of strong ninjas, and, like, later on we get even more magic items. So, you know, cool, I guess.
See, and this is where, like, in the anime, this is just, like, at least in the manga, I can kind of breeze through it, because it's a manga. It doesn't take as much time to go through.
Right.
So I don't have as much of a problem with it as I would have had watching the anime, just because at that point then, it's dragging it out even further, the war feels even longer, and I can... See, I think the big problem for a lot of people with Naruto is just that, maybe not a lot of people, but at least with some, that the Great Ninja War is so long that it's the end of the story, so it kind of seemingly drags the rest of the series down, just because it can be such a slog to get through, especially if you've only seen the anime. Because you get a fight like this where it might only last a couple of chapters in the manga, but, like, in the anime, when it's actually animated, it's stretched out even further, it takes a couple of episodes to get through. It's just, it's rough.
Yeah, that's the thing with, like, the anime adaptations with, like, Dragon Ball, Naruto, One Piece, is, like, people watch them and that's just their picture of the series. Like, oh, Dragon Ball is slow and it's all characters screaming for episodes on end. But it's, like, that's not how it happens in the manga. Read the manga. So it's just...
Yeah, this is where, like,
when you hear the criticisms like that, you gotta wonder where they're coming, what perspective are they coming from. That's why we tried to make our initial perspectives clear from the beginning on, like, oh, this is what I know about Naruto, and then now we're reading it. So, go on.
Well, it's actually kind of funny. I forget when I was going to mention this, but I'll mention it now. With my original score that I gave the Naruto Shippuden anime, I gave it initially a 3, just because I was not invested in the story, and of course the pacing issues did not help. But I will say that, like, when I went back through, because most of my problems were with the story, and that's why I gave it such a low score. But, like, going through the Pain Assault and the Itachi Sasuke stuff, and the 5 Kage Summit especially, I kind of changed my opinion, because I realized, oh, that material's not as bad as I thought it was. So I bumped my score up to a 5. So cool. less harsh on Naruto Part 2. But
and I never watched it, but, like... You know, you did a video on the soundtrack, so it seems pretty cool. And then the openings, like going through the openings for the to use in the intro to the podcast, like the last one with Sasuke's shit-eating grin. I had to use that part. I had to use that part for that episode. It was so good. But yeah, I usually like, and even the openings, like there was another one I didn't use, I think, and both the openings were good, and I had the choice of either of them. So it's like, the openings have been pretty good, so it's like there's other aspects to the adaptation that are worthwhile, but again, there's problems to it that, yeah.
I know before, I think we'd gotten a question about what was our favorite opening. Now I can actually give an answer, even though we haven't gone through all of them yet. But, what is it? Bluebird, the one from, It's funny, because, like, the Akatsuki Suppression arc was not one of the standout arcs in the series, but the opening was great. But that was a bit of a tangent.
Yeah, I might even just like watch more of the openings. Like, what were the ones from part 1 is good? Like, because again, like several of them I skipped just because, like, especially with Naruto, part 1 is like they were airing during filler stuff. So why would we skip? There was no filler in the manga. I didn't need to watch those openings. But what if the opening was good? Like,
I mean, the part 1 openings had good songs, but I wasn't as impressed with some of the like the visuals, I guess.
Okay.
Like, I know the Chunin Exams has a kick-ass opening song, but the visuals are just like a lot of character introductions or just shots of characters, so it's not super great. But the song's good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I took us off track. I took us way off track.
Yeah, a little bit. I was trying to bring us back. So I guess we're done with talking about the Haku Zabuza fight.
Yeah.
So I guess before we get to the next stuff, there was another popularity poll.
Ah, yes, the popularity poll. It's back. I've been wondering, because I feel like the last one we had was unless we missed one, the last one we had was, right before right after the Tenchi Bridge, because Sai wasn't even in it, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think, yes, and now Sai is ranked 12th right next to Sakura on this one. So fairly well, not as well as, like, Naruto, Sasuke, and Kakashi are still top 3. Though I can't help but notice Naruto is number 1 after the Pain arc and the Kage Summit, where Sasuke is number 2 after the Kage Summit. Sasuke has been
knocked off his perch.
Exactly. I blame him being a giant edgelord in service of both his character and the narrative for good reason. But it does make him less likable, which I think is the point. You know, like, it doesn't. An unlikable character isn't a bad thing if it's purposeful. You know, so.
But even then, he's still number 2, so he does have a pretty solid fan base there.
Yes.
But then you have Gaara at 4, you have Itachi at 5, Deidara is at 6, he's in the top 10, that makes me happy.
Yeah, Sasori is still in the top 10 too.
That was kind of surprising.
Deidara at least I can kind of understand. Sasori,
I mean, I guess if this was conducted, like, after he had just come back in the Ninja War fight, maybe just out of relevance, but
maybe.
I don't know, I didn't think Sasori was a super strong character.
I mean, he rated really high last time he showed up too, I'm pretty sure. But I don't think I got it then either, just because he doesn't register much with me. He's just kind of an emotionless. Maybe it's because he's a pretty boy. Like, I mean, the 4th Hokage ranked like 9th in the poll just from a picture showing up. Like in the second popularity poll, because in the first one he didn't rank at all, just because he was the guy who did stuff in the backstory. Then he gets a picture and boom, number 9. Just because he's pretty. And now he's number 7th, but that makes sense because he's actually done things.
We actually know what his character is now.
Yeah. And then Shikamaru and Hinata. Lee has dropped off notably. He's in 20th place.
What's the last thing that Lee did? He was Drunken Fist. I don't recall.
No, not even. It was his support during the Kazekage rescue. So I guess.
Oh yeah, his support. That
fucking a million years ago.
Yeah, and Hinata 10th. That doesn't surprise me because she had her moment, even though it didn't it wasn't elaborated on in the way that we would have liked. But I mean, she had a moment, so it doesn't surprise me that she's there. I mean, she is many people's best girl, so
yes.
Yeah, I guess it shows here.
Yamato, see Sai placing as high is less satisfying to me because Yamato is right under him, and I'm like, why? Why there was a moment here when he was interacting with Naruto trying to tell him what to do, and he didn't even do his quirky silent rage mode thing that he only did for a chapter or 2. And I'm just like, what is Yamato? Go away, you're boring. I guess it's not a bad thing that it was kidnapped. Gamabunta maybe got 1 vote, so his popularity has dropped off significantly.
But your boy Killer B, he's in there at 25th.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty respectable. And Pain and Conan did pretty well. Kushina, she did really well considering how new she is. I was like, hey, that's 21st place for a really new character. That's pretty good.
That didn't particularly. I don't know. Maybe I'm just sort of fickle about what I think the Shonen Jump readers would like, but I think like, oh, she had a big impact on the story just recently, so of course she'd be high up on the popularity poll.
Yeah. There's a number of recent characters usually score pretty well. So when you see like again, I don't know exactly when this one was. Like, was it like you said, just after the Sasori and Deidara came back? Because that would explain their relevance again. But if it didn't, then they're just really popular for some reason. Like several arcs after they've been gone for a while. So like Gaara had some moments recently with the Kage Summit. Itachi, obviously, that they make sense. Shikamaru a little less so, but still, he's probably... Would you say Shikamaru is the most relevant of the Leaf 12, aside from the main trio? I'm trying to think. Maybe Neji and Hinata would be closest, but...
I mean, I think Shikamaru has done more, because he even had sort of his own arc with the Akatsuki suppression.
Yeah, so Shikamaru is probably the fourth most important after the main trio, which is notable, so it makes sense that he'd be this high. So yeah. Anyway, I don't have. I
did think it was kind of funny though. Choji, I don't even think like he was lower than 50th. Like he didn't have many votes at all, which I thought was kind of interesting, considering that's Kishimoto's that's his secret favorite character or one of. Okay. And then of course he gets a big moment after this poll.
He does.
So perhaps that would have bumped him up higher.
I can't even find him. Where did he? Oh, there he is. Now, with 8 votes. 8 people agree with Kishimoto.
See, that kind of saddens me a bit, because at least Choji had something of a character, but then I see people you've got Fu and Torune, who were Danzo's guards, who had one.
I didn't even see. I don't even like a lot of these names. I'm like Chojiro, I guess, is Choji's dad with 2 less votes. Choji's dad is almost as popular as Choji. The fucking dog Pakun has 1 less vote than Shizune and Konohamaru. Jugo has 8 more votes than needed. Kimimaro has 19 more votes than needed. Fuck those guys.
Oh, that reminds me, because Kimimaro comes back, but that's a bit later.
That was what your reaction should have been. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention, because I just saw Zabuza's name again, and I was mentioning earlier with the rock ninjas how they're all named after colors and rocks, and well, the swordsmen and mist are named after fruit. Momo is peach, Momochi Zabuza, and there was one not named Ringo, which is apple. And I don't know, theme namings. I wonder who. I feel like Toriyama started that, with the his characters are named after food usually, or the Red Ribbon Army are colors and military ranks. So I wonder if there was anything else major before that did the same sort of theme naming, because it's kind of fun. It makes sense with because long shonen series have millions of characters. So how do you come up with that many names? You can't just come up with a super meaningful name for everyone. So just these characters are together. Okay, give them a theme. Boom. Fruit, colors, whatever works. Makes sense to me.
It makes sense, because I think of on a much more minor scale, I think of people who do Nuzlocks, and how do you nickname your Pokemon? Oh, some sort of a theme with food, colors, whatever works.
Yeah, right. Or just sort of make it full circle. I was going to do a Soul Link Nuzlocke with a friend, and we were going to name our characters after One Piece characters. So kind of gone for full circle there, I guess. Anyway, moving on. Or I guess, I just thought it was interesting that, because again, we were talking about how way back when that Momochi is a really cute name for a bloodthirsty murder guy. But I wonder if, that's the thing, I wonder if did he have the fruit name theme planned, or did he just see Momo, think Peach, and just go with it? I wonder. Because that's the thing with the long-running series, is that they don't necessarily have everything planned from the beginning, but they might make you think that they did, which I think is cool. Because it doesn't really matter for the story in the end, but, it's again, it adds to that satisfying nature when you sense that you feel the connection when like we were talking about last time with the guys from the Wave Country showing up. Kishimoto remembers these guys. We as the audience are rewarded for remembering. It makes us feel like the author knows what they're doing. They remember their story. Just like you do. So all right, moving on. Which I've probably said 5 times now. we're introduced to a few of the older Kages, which I believe are the fourth Kazekage, who's Gaara's dad, the third Raikage, a Mizukage, I don't remember if they numbered him.
The second Mizukage, I believe.
Second Mizukage? Okay, and the second Tsuchikage. So you kind of got one from each of the villages except for the fire ones. Yeah, you're right, it is the second Mizukage. Like, they only said it like once, and then they just called him Mizukage after that point, and I'm like, which one? I missed it the first time. So, yeah, they show up and they're being dudes doing things. Oh, I guess before we get to them, like, there's some more tactics stuff that really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But at least, Kishimoto's thinking about it and trying to make sense of where his characters are and why, which is cool. Oh yeah, there's a little thing that doesn't go anywhere where the daimyos are under attack, but it doesn't work, and then Toby gives up, so whatever, who cares?
Yeah, because you do get, I guess, a bit more elaboration and like, okay, this is what his strategy would be to try to get to this point. So like, if 9 and 8 Tails didn't show up, then he would have captured the daimyo and used them as leverage.
Yeah.
So you get
it's nice to see sort of the plans all working out, or all like like Kishimoto's trying to think of like how, because there's a lot of moving parts to this arc, so it makes sense that he has to sort of keep it under control. Oh yeah, so what did you think, before we get to some of the other fights, what did you think of this little bit between Neji and his dad? Because they kind of get, or no, it's Neji's dad and Hinata's dad. Never mind, Neji wasn't there.
Oh yeah, I mean, it happened. It was
yeah, like they're just kind of like reminding us of things that happened, which I felt like the Zabuza Haku stuff fell into a little bit, where it's just sort of like just not quite reusing, but definitely like referring to, like, and the question is like, how necessary was this? Like, didn't we already get the point? Like, I don't know, it was short enough that I didn't mind it. But,
yeah, because the thing with like
considering your thoughts on Neji,
yeah, because like the thing with the Haku and Zabuza stuff is that it kind of reimagines certain events in a different context, and that's why I think it works. Because like I had said, you have the lightning blade Haku sacrifice moment. With this, I mean, I guess now would be because like you get the reimagining of like I guess this was my even then my free will was not my free will, because I'm coming back and I was always destined to do this and da. So I guess I'll just bring up the comment that I got now, even though we're not exactly quite to the point where all the prophecy stuff with the stuff that'll be introduced later on. But we have kind of talked about prophecy stuff with like Jiraiya and Pain and stuff.
Yeah, well, because go on.
But like the thing I had been, I guess, a bit confused on, or like I might have miscredited, was that I was like, oh well, I know a lot of people will say that, oh, Neji was right in the end, because destined to be whatever, Naruto, son of this chakra, blah, yeah, so Naruto has these abilities in him, so he was like destined to be great. But the thing with like this comment helped me kind of recontextualize was that the thing with Neji's philosophy is that it's not like you're just destined for greatness or whatever. It's that the idea is that you cannot become something that you were not born. Like you cannot move beyond your status or whatever, which again, Neji contradicts, because he fights to change his destiny. So he's always trying to like become something that he can't be, but that's his philosophy, is that you're just born to be whatever you will be. But the stuff that get in, like all the prophecy stuff, is kind of a different mindset entirely. It's not about you were born with these, you were born to fulfill this prophecy or whatever. Here, I'm going to look up this comment and have it in front of me so I can phrase it better.
I mean, because it does like bring up questions of like further questions about just general determinism, and it's like, well, what is Kishimoto's stance on it, and how is it how is he getting it across in the story? Cause, like, do the characters actually have meaningful agency, or just the appearance of meaningful agency? Like, how real is this shit? So, which I guess is sort of the intrinsic question when dealing with like, it's not about like, is he representing reality? It's about like, what is his stance, and how is that stance being represented in the story, which I guess which is part of where the issue runs to, I suppose, because again, like you said, it's two distinct things, and the question is how much they overlap, or how much they should overlap. But maybe I'll have something more to say later if they go more into it, because I know Neji's got a big moment coming up at some point, and of course we've even really yet to learn about the reincarnation prophecy stuff. Like we've seen some frog prophecies, but I know that there's more to come. So yeah, let's just wait on that. But I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, I finally found the comment now, but maybe I'll just save it.
Yes, it's copy it down somewhere. All right, so we get another fight. Omoy, or what was his name? The lightning dude.
Darui? Wasn't that? No. Wasn't it Darui?
What's his name? Darui? Is that his name? Or I didn't hear you.
Yeah, Darui, because the other guy was Shi. It's Shi and Darui.
Okay, yeah. So we get that Darui and Gang versus Kinkaku and Ginkaku. The fight that you thought was filler. And this is the point where I think that as this fight ended, I dropped the manga and I stopped reading weekly, and then from that point on, I just heard things on occasion. Because what was the point of the fight again?
I think that this was the prime example of what I was talking about earlier, how he's trying to, talk more about the lore and, make the war feel like give it a grander sense of scale, but I couldn't get invested.
These guys have these special weapons that you just heard about now, and they were in the belly of the Kyuubi, which is something you just heard about now, and it's like, oh, okay. I
mean, I think that
sure.
Darui is a cool enough character, so I guess we get to see him show off, which is, it's fine. But
I mean, mostly, I guess for me, the best part of the fight was his sort of character moments with the thing about the Raikage, with, he is also the arm of the Raikage, so he's kind of like, oh, I gotta prove myself and stuff. That was fine. I mean, there was, the tricks with the, okay. Should I really be bitching about how dumb the trick is where he, drab is his soul word, but sorry
switches.
Was he'd said sorry and drab enough over the course of his entire life that they were just close enough that saying that he could just switch the word on accident.
Yeah.
I mean, should I really be questioning the logic? And I don't know. It's just dumb.
Yeah, I can't really think of a solid critique of this. It's just I don't think it's just not very interesting. I mean, I guess I don't even know if I can call it clever, because I don't.
Well, he doesn't even do it on purpose. He accidentally wins. So that's not really satisfying. And then it doesn't really show much of his character. He reacts quickly, but he again, he didn't do it on purpose. If you even accept that it was kind of bullshit. But
yeah, the problem.
And then he gets the first one, and then the second one goes nine tails because they had nine. Because someone in the comments mentioned that because one thing I'd been wondering about was okay, the 10 tails. I know the 10 tails gets created, but in order to be created, it needs all 9 of the monsters. So I was like, wait, how does he? But so Naruto loses the Kyuubi and dies, and that doesn't seem right. But apparently, Toby made he used the chakra from Kinkaku and Ginkaku and the severed 8 tails tentacle. That was his replacement for those. So he didn't need the whole beast. He just needed part of their chakra. Maybe the Kyuubi not being 100% complete is a thing. So basically, that's kind of what this feels like. It's just sort of setting up for the 10-tailed beast. Because again, I don't care about Kinkaku or Ginkaku. Darui, he exists. I guess this. I understand why you thought that this was anime filler.
I mean, because, yeah, it focuses on characters who generally don't get a lot of attention, so it has all the makings of anime filler. It fits in the story well because there's the perfect opportunity for do it, but that's because it is the actual story. I know we haven't gotten to it yet, but the fight that comes up later between the samurai guy and Hanzo. I know in the interview we've discussed before, Kishimoto kind of talks about how people were kind of complaining about, why is this samurai guy fighting this other guy? And he's like, oh, yeah, he got some blowback for that. But at least with that fight, for one thing, it's only 2 chapters, so I'm not going to get too bent out of shape over a fight that lasted 2 chapters, because it's over. It goes by pretty quickly. But there was also something of an idea, not a theme, not I don't even think motif, but there's an idea he was going for there like conviction.
Yeah.
He was trying to capture an idea through that fight.
Yes. Well,
but this fight,
Mifune was the sort of ideals of samurai, and Hanzo was the ideals of, or the outdated ideals of shinobi. So you had that sort of playing against each other. So there was something going on, But
like,
with
this fight, there just isn't like what's the idea? Like
Ginkaku and Ginkaku are bad. Good to know. Like, what do we get from it as the audience?
And this one goes on for a bit longer, so it's just even more. It just drags.
There's like a attempt at like tricks and tactics with the mechanics of their items, but it's not really it's not really satisfying how it plays out. Like all the fight has going for it is Darui's character moment. But even then, like, it didn't make me like him notably more. He's like still Darui. So. I do like it towards the end when Shikamaru, Ino, and Shoji come in and start helping. That was kind of cool, but it doesn't like, I don't know, especially if you're reading it weekly. Like, that's probably why I dropped it, because it's just like, I don't care, who cares, whatever. I just wanted to, it's just, like, why, yeah. But again, reading the manga is, at least at this point, the ideal way to consume the story.
Yes.
From what I've heard about the anime.
But what I kind of realized,
or go on.
Well, what I kind of realized when I was reevaluating the tuning exams for my latest video is that I like that Kishimoto attempts to I feel like he's a very ambitious storyteller, and that he, like, the way I see it, this is more of, I guess, like a personal connection, but if I was writing a story, I would want to delve into a lot of different characters, because that's what I do with my wrestling videos, is I like to have a lot of moving parts and kind of focus on a bunch of smaller characters, even though they might be less important, just to kind of make the whole thing feel more realized, and, I don't know, more ideas for me to explore.
Because I think that's another part of the point, go on.
Well, yeah, but the thing with, because, like, it's the same with the tuning exams as it is sort of here. A lot of this, well, it's different in the tuning exams because a lot gets set up and just never delivered on. This one, it's just...
Well, this is supposed to be the delivery. That's...
yeah, and in some cases it works. In the thing, like, with Darui, it's just... I don't know, it just feels a little unnecessary, and it kind of, I think, is a detriment to the story, just even if it's just from a pacing standpoint, because we spent, 3-5 chapters or whatever. I forget exactly how long the fight was, but we spent so much time on this threat, this fight. But what did it? I mean, other than damage, what did it really accomplish? I mean, like, yeah, it does set up these enemies do set up the stuff with the beast. That Toby needs the chakra later, but... Yeah.
But maybe it could have been more interesting from a character standpoint, or just been a better fight, like that. In those cases, it might have been more forgivable, but as is, it's just kind of like, oh, well, that happened. And, like, so I guess, like, the issue with this arc is, like, how many of the fights are going to feel like that, and how many of the fights are going to feel more like the Sai one or the Zabuza one, where you at least get something out of the characters, even if the fight's not, or the fight itself is, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think if there was any fight this arc I liked in particular for the fighting itself, like, technically, rather than emotionally. Like,
yeah, I don't think I had one, but see, for some of these fights, it's less so like it's one major issue that's the problem, and it's just a combination of a lot of smaller things. Like, with the Kinkaku and Ginkaku, not only do I not really care about their fighting style or their characters, but also, like, they're going up against Darui and some other Cloud characters who weren't very well defined, whereas maybe if they had fought somebody who I actually cared about, a previously established
like
character...
what they could have done is, like, since they have the Nine Tails chakra, okay, set that up against someone who's, like, been Naruto's rival, like, Kiba wants to be Hokage. How does Lee feel about Naruto blowing past him? They connected on the hard work thing. How does Lee feel about this? Do something with, like, they could have done other things instead of focus on this new character and not really do a lot with him,
See, because even then, I feel like the idea of Darui being in a fight is not in and of itself bad, but it's just, like, coupled with all the other conditions of this.
And
like,
not these two.
Yeah, it's just like, you add together all the conditions of the fight, and it's just things piling up, and that's what kind of makes it disappointing.
Right.
Whereas with other stuff like the Haku, Kakashi, Zabuza thing, like, the fighting I might not be particularly interested in, but there are other elements to it, like the characters I'm more invested in, and it's revisiting old conflicts, which is cool. With the very first fight with Deidara and Sasori and Sai's brother, there's like character conflicts there. It's just there's several different things that could make up a fight, and I feel like this one, I won't say that this one fails in every regard, but there's a lot that I don't care for.
It's notably lacking compared to some of the other earlier ones. So.
Yeah. And so that's why it could kind of feel unimportant,
Like, I don't want to jump the
unnecessary.
gun, but it might be the least good fight this stretch of chapters. I can't think of anyone that's more, like, uninteresting, relatively, so...
Yeah, because even then, I feel like the only other candidate that people might point to would be Hanzo versus Mifune, but that fight is succinct,
right there,
at least. It's 2 chapters, and it has, like, the idea of conviction there. And even then, like, Hanzo is a sort of a character who, in the lore of Naruto, has been built up for quite a while, so we do at least know about him.
Yeah,
even if we don't really know about Mifune.
Because, like, this is the guy who went up against Orochimaru Tsunade and Jiraiya, and I don't know, does he really feel like that in retrospect? I'm not sure. Like, does this guy feel like a character who could tussle with those 3 and be like, oh, you guys are alright? Like, I don't know. That was a while ago, too, but, I don't know, I just had that thought now. I wasn't thinking about it a lot during the fight, but, because it's not a really long fight, it's just sort of a melee duel that sort of goes quickly, and then there's the mechanics with Hanzo's poison.
Mm-hmm. And even in this fight, Mifune is a new character, so you could potentially run into the same issue as like with Darui, where we don't really know much about him. But the thing with this fight is that there are other aspects of the fight that I mentioned earlier that do kind of help bring it along, even if Mifune himself is not a well-realized character who we've spent, hundreds of chapters with, or even just dozens of chapters.
Yeah.
And I also do think it's sort of cool, like, well, maybe I'm going out of order. What's the next fight? Because a lot of this happens simultaneously, so I don't want to throw anything off.
Next is the Asuma one, though. Well, I guess to say something on the Hanzo fight is like,
yeah, I guess we might as well.
One
just
thing
cover
he said
it now.
that bugged me a little. Or sorry, go on.
Well, I was saying we might as well just cover it now because I've already done a lot of discussing of it.
Okay. Oh, you mean? Oh, were we still talking about the Kingaku and Ginkaku fight?
Well, no, the Hanzo Mifune fight, because I've already really said my piece on it, so might as well just hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. Again, I liked having the ideas against each other. The thing that I was trying to get to that bugged me a little is Hanzo talking about how the loss of conviction in the is it's basically a death, and I was like, that reminds me of your successor in leading the Rain country, who lost his convictions in the end, and it was really unsatisfying. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, sorry, I'm still 20 years later, I'm still mad. Not even mad, but disappointed. But yeah, I guess I don't have much to say on the fight. Like, it's mostly sort of the flashback and their, ideological discussion. They just sort of, like, swing their blades, and one of them falls down, and there's poison, which is how Hanzo...
swing my sword. Fight over.
Well, because I guess the idea is the... Wait, actually, now I think... by poisoning himself, he paralyzes himself so he can get sealed up, because he does the emotional thing. Kind of doing the emotional thing without fully disintegrating. Like, you'd think that just the act of him rebelling might have him just disintegrate like Sai's brother did, but it doesn't, because it's more impactful if that doesn't happen. Like,
because you get the seppuku, so you get the cool, like, the shinobi does the samurai thing, and so that's another little
yeah, because he's going he's lost his conviction, basically, or he's
regaining it.
Deal. So yeah. So I guess I'm done with that fight. So I guess we could talk about the Inoshika Cho team versus Asuma. Because this part you really see the sort of emotions of the character, like them talking about their, like, giving their opponents advice because they on some level want to be defeated even though their bodies move on their own. Like this fight you really get that with Asuma even calling Choji fatso to piss him off. I don't know. What did you think about the fight?
Well, I mean, this one I thought. This one it had like good moments of characters playing off each other, and this is where I guess Kishimoto really gives Choji the spotlight. I don't know. It was fine. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, when Choji went his full like butterfly mode, and he was like, "Oh, but this time he won't die." I was like, "Okay." I mean, he's just. How do you feel about this fight with the context of him not dying before? Like, I know you've already said your piece on Neji a bit, but I guess now that we're talking about Choji again, like, I don't know. It's like, because, yeah, that's the thing. He's just kind of like, I don't know. Would you consider this sort of just redoing what's already been done with, like, because Shikamaru said that, he wants Choji to, man up and kind of be the tougher,
yeah,
the tough ninja, and then this is kind of that moment again. I'm just, like, wondering, like, what's different here, aside from its...
Yeah,
There's gotta be something, right? Like...
I guess because now it's more the context of, like... Because you get the sort of flashback of he will be the leader of the Akamichi clan, so he needs to not only... It's not just, I guess, like, personal growth that he needs it for, but to, like... So he can be a leader one day, but... No, you brought that up, and now I don't care for this fight. No.
I ruined it for you. Oh, no.
Well, because, like, the thing... I mean, it's not that I don't dislike it entirely, because, I mean, the majority of the fight is based in Choji's... is based on Choji. But still, like, the idea... The way that Asuma has to go up against his former disciples, it's still cool. And it's not even just, like, it's just a cool concept. Like, it is executed well with, I don't know. Like, I really like the moment where, Shikamaru uses... Asuma's, his chakra blade, which he had used before in the Hidan Kakuzu fights, but he uses it again here, and then Asuma has that moment of realization where he's like, oh, I was beaten with my own blade. It was cool. So even then, it's not all on Choji, but Choji's a big part of the fight, and yeah, it is sort of a rehash. No.
I mean, I do like some of the, like, I don't know, I kind of like these guys fighting together, because you saw it a bit during the Kinkaku, whichever one was left over, where they do work well together. Like, their abilities, like, shadows, mind control, and getting big. That totally makes sense. But no, they actually sort of team up, like you got the bit where, Ino sort of does the mind thing on Choji, and, Shikamaru, like, grabs Ino's body so it doesn't fall over with his shadow. Just little stuff like that is kind of neat. But yeah, most of the fight is on Choji, and it's just rehashing a little bit.
One thing that I do, it's a minor detail, but one thing I kind of like about... I mean, like, so far the fights have been spaced out over different locations, so of course you're going to get different environments. Some of it is just, standard forest fare. But I kind of like this layout in particular, because you've got the...
Well, it's more of a...
Well, you've got...
There's layers to it.
Yeah, there's layers.
Like
they're on that layered
kind of, so.
mountain sort of place, and then you've got, like, the little, like, oceans... Or not ocean, but, like, the water spread... Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting location. It's not quite just a wasteland like you would see in, say, Dragon Ball, but it's, it's got a little more, I don't know, do I say nuance to it? There's a bit more going on. Even though it's not like super important to the mechanics of the fight, but I don't know, it's interesting to look at, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess we have nothing more to say on that fight. Well, there was one bit that kind of made me a little sad, because you see Tenten, she gets the fan from Kinkaku and Genkaku that was able to use a bunch of elements, and then she passes out later on, and but what? Yeah, why, Kishimoto? You gotta bully Tenten.
This reminds me of Swag Kage's least favorite Naruto characters video, where he talks about Tenten and how in the fight with Kinkaku, Genkaku, and Darui, where the whole point is that, like, you have to use these tools, these ninja tools to defeat the people. Who do we know that was good with ninja tools? Who do we know whose entire character, like, that was her thing? That was the one thing she was known for, was that she fought with ninja tools.
And she can't even do that right. Like, she's just toying around with this fan, and she, like, dies effectively for... As far as the narrative concerned, she's dead. She never... Is she gonna do anything after this point? She's just like, whoops, I used too much chakra because I couldn't control the tool. And then just bury her, Kishimoto. Just dig her a fucking grave and push her in. It doesn't matter if she's alive or dead. She's dead to me.
I mean, narratively, she was kind of dead the moment she stepped on screen.
Yeah.
Was she ever alive?
Like, because I feel like it's Kishimoto, like, because he really, really wanted to do the every trio has two guys and a girl thing. I'm not good at coming up with female characters. Like, if he just made Tenten a boy, or replaced her with a dude character he had in mind, he would have done something with them, maybe. Like, I'd rather have a good character than have the author hold himself into something they feel obligated to do, you know? I mean, maybe if he replaced her, the character still wouldn't have been good, or would have taken away from other characters, but... I don't know if it's
I don't know if it's necessarily
her non-characters. Tenten, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if it's necessarily her gender that's the problem. It's just because you do get later on. I mean, this is way later in the story, but like when the sand or not sand, the cloud ninja, it's two girls and a guy. And like, I mean, they don't do a whole lot to be fair, but it's not like.
Oh, you mean the lightning ninja?
Oh yeah, lightning. Did I say cloud? Aren't they from the?
You said sand.
No, I said sand.
Conqueror's not a girl.
Well, no, I did say sand at first, and I tried to correct myself to cloud.
I didn't hear the correction.
Maybe I didn't correct it, or maybe Discord just killed me again.
So it might have been Discord. Whatever. I don't know. Well, because I guess the thing on the gender thing is that's just sort because I feel like Kishimoto's really in on that aspect to it. And so, like, the two guys and a girl, I mean, at least at that point, like, maybe later he realized that, oh, if I have more ideas for a girl, like, or, yeah, I should try and change it up. But, I don't know, I basically the point is if changing Tenten to or having a boy character in her place would have made that boy a better character, I would have rather had the good character than just more useless females. So, I don't know.
I mean, I guess hopefully, I could kind of see it, because I guess it's just a philosophy of, like, what is the difference between, like, because I guess, like, if you're thinking about writing that character from a perspective, like, I guess it's a different mentality to write a boy versus a girl, but, like, what if instead of Tenten, what if Neji was, like, a girl and not a boy? Would that have altered his character much? So yeah, I don't know if, like, gender is the problem with
like,
Tenten.
I don't think it should be a problem, but I wonder, like, because you saw a silent voice, right? Yes, you did. Because I remember seeing bits from an interview from Sayo Yamamoto, and she was a bit worried because the main character is a guy and she's not as familiar with guys, but then she got past that pretty quickly because she realized there's not a major difference, you know, like it shouldn't be, it's not an issue to direct around gender. But the fact that she had to think about it makes me wonder if Kishimoto is thinking too hard about it. Like he's trying, like, because apparently with the Sakura Naruto thing, he was it you or was it somewhere someone mentioned that Kishimoto talked to his wife about how these female characters should act, and he shouldn't need to think about it this hard. Like maybe it's
I know it was more
thing.
From what the only thing I recall Kishimoto talking to his wife about was with Naruto's mother, because from that like
Naruto's mother,
perspective.
I was thinking Sakura for some reason. So see, yeah, then that's again something he should, like, ideally he shouldn't have to have thought about it that hard. It should have just been able to do it. But you know, so maybe he's overthinking his female characters. Maybe he's underthinking them and realizing that's a problem that he needs to fix. Or you know, I don't know exactly. I don't know the guy. I can't just hey Kishimoto, what's the fucking deal, man? But yeah, there's just this moment with Tenten was really sad because she's trying to do something. Look, she's trying and not. But it's like a joke. It's just like a one-panel joke.
But what was another thing that was kind of funny? I forget if it was the Darui fight or if it was the Asuma fight. But at one point, she was there, like on the battlefield, just kind of talking about the power of one of the characters. And I was like, no, like even she's not even in the fight, but she still did the exposition role. Well, not exposition, but like she's the character who has to look on and all and be like, oh, look how strong these people are. I felt so sad because like Tenten,
do something. Anyway, maybe we should move on. So I guess like we cut away from the fights for a little bit because we get a moment with Naruto where everyone's trying to convince him not to act, and he's you know starting to realize something's wrong. And of course, once he gets outside, he senses that there's a fucking war going on. All right. So, what did you think about this scene with Iruka?
I mean, it was cool because again, like with Kishimoto, giving his characters sort of maybe not like character resolutions, but like giving them something like a final moment of importance. Like Iruka gets to, you know, his relationship with Naruto comes up again, and he gets to. Like I think this is his final real moment of action, which is, it's fine because like Iruka was never really a fighter. He was never really a battle character in the first place. So I think this is probably the best way he could have used him. And I think, I don't know, it wasn't like a super emotional moment, but I mean, I I could see what he was going for, and I could appreciate it. I mean, it was a good moment. I don't have any like super in-depth feelings on it. It was just the thing that happened, but it was fine. I didn't have any problems with it.
Yeah. Though I did like the stuff with the headband, because like he's going against what the Leaf Village wants, and he literally loses his headband for a moment.
Yeah, that's pretty
Erika
cool.
gives it back with the note, and yeah, it was fine little moment, just sort of setting up Naruto, reaffirming his ideals and beliefs against the Leaf before he goes into the war. And of course, Killer Bee goes after him because they gotta stay together. The Tailed Beast bros gotta stick together. But yeah, they break out and. Oh, there's the panel. It's like, Tenten's being healed, and she's like, help me, I'm dying. And she's like, you used too much chakra, you idiot. Like, that's the thing I was thinking of earlier. And then, anyway, Toby summons the ghetto statue to fuck shit up. And you have sort of a kaiju battle. Didn't think that would happen in Naruto. A kaiju battle between the Akamichis and the ghetto statue. I mean, maybe I should have expected... Oh, no, actually, that's been normal with the summoned beasts like Gamabunta and the tailed beasts like Shukaku and Kyuubi fighting in the Gara fights. Never mind, it's not that weird, but it's pretty... But yeah, we finally get...
But I can see, like, with the introduction of the ghetto statue, it's... I can see, like, I know where this fight is going, and I can see why I wouldn't have really, I guess, cared for it a whole lot, because with the ghetto statue, this is where it gets into my problem of everybody ganging up on... I mean, we haven't gotten to it yet, but it will happen later, where everyone has to gang up on one giant foe, and how I don't
you mentioned
typically...
that before.
Yeah, don't typically care for that, so...
But we
I
still
can see
haven't got there.
I see it coming, and I'm like,
Like, it's kind of fun how you're, like, a lot of your... You've been building up to these rants for now, like, 12 episodes now. And we're still not quite there yet. Like, so again, I guess it goes back to how a lot of your opinion on, or maybe not just you, but a lot of people's opinion on Naruto is soured by the war and how long it was and its various issues. So anyway, Toby steals the Kinkaku pot for his Nine Tails chakra, and there's a temporary like ceasefire for nighttime. Or at least the fighting kind of quells down a bit. Shikamaru, like, actually deduces Toby's plan, and Toby's like, hey, you're pretty smart, huh? Too bad you're
it's a
my
shame
enemy.
You're not on my side.
Yeah, which was, like, neat to see Shikamaru getting some recognition, even though he's pretty dumb relative to Minato, Itachi, and... I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, because there are certain characters like your Minato and your Itachi who are just like, oh, they're super geniuses.
Right, I much prefer Shikamaru's method, or the tier of genius.
Because Shikamaru is not a psychic; he can't see the future.
So he has to think about the logic of his actions and his thoughts, and it's cool. Yeah, but anyway, moving on a bit, we get a bit of a conversation between Naruto and the Nine-Tailed Fox, where Kyuubi's like, you can't even help Sasuke because you're a loser, and Naruto's like, shut up, bitch. And I don't know, what'd you think about that?
I mean, this is the point where Naruto kind of finally, I don't want to say turns the other cheek. I think that's more like ignoring, so that's not the phrase I'm looking for. But because then he acknowledges the tailed beast, and he's like, I'm going to come after all that hate inside of you one day.
And he's like, nuh-uh, I am hatred, you can't do that. Like, he's not, like, because that's the thing, he's been so defeated, like, trounced by Naruto, he has, like, he doesn't have a lot of presence, and, which is deliberate, because, again, I do think, because they, as I understand it, he gets, he reaches a bond similar to Killer Bee and his octopus, so, of, basically friendship, so the Kyuubi's gotta be, toned down a bit, But I did think it was kind of funny because he's just so like his insistence that he wouldn't be changed just feels small, because and even he feels smaller somehow. Like maybe it's because he's being drawn differently in the cage. Like before, it looked like his face like filled the cage. He looked massive, but now he doesn't look much smaller. But the cage looks bigger, so he seems smaller. Like,
I guess it's just like a sign of his diminishing power over Naruto.
Right. But yeah, it does also kind of reaffirm his inner conflict, with Sasuke. And we get a little flashback. And I like the bit where they're, right before they spar and they're holding up their fingers, And Sasuke just looks so mad. Like, I don't know why. Just little Sasuke just looked really mad. Like, I don't know. It's kind of funny. Maybe. I don't know. I like seeing small Sasuke because we haven't seen a lot of him.
I thought it was sort of interesting how after all this time, Kishimoto is now kind of flashing back to, before Naruto, like before the first chapter. He's going back to see them as kids, like before the graduation, before they were getting, and just like, going into their relationships back then.
Right.
And I guess showing how they came to be who they were at the start of the story. Well, not, like, I don't know, like, more so just, like, how this dynamic played out.
I mean, I can't help but notice that the way, like, Sasuke's eyes in particular are drawn here feel very sort of, post-time skip. Like, I feel, like, I don't know, maybe it's just me misremembering, but he feels a little different from the Sasuke who kind of befriended Naruto back during part 1. So, which I guess makes sense because the massacre would have been much fresher in his mind. So even though he would never really stopped being consumed by that hatred, it just sort of like became a bit more lax. But I don't know, maybe it's just Kishimoto's also been drawing part 2 Sasuke for longer at this point, so he can't help but to sort of draw some of that in this younger Sasuke. Maybe it's just me noticing things I shouldn't be noticing. So anyway, moving on a bit. There's a little bit of a sub arc here with the camp murderer. Who could it be? And
I do sort of like this part, like at least I mean it's not super huge in the grand scheme of the war, but again to kind of show the stress of everything, I guess.
Well, yeah, you've got the stress of being constantly attacked because they're ninjas. Deceit is part of the thing, so it makes sense that the war never really stops. Even though the actions slow down.
It's a believable like war tactic. Like, yeah, of course this would happen. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then you get the little moment where Sakura, she's like, "Oh, Tauntaun, he's being patched up by Shizune's," and not Neji's like, "Okay, cool. He'll be. It's good that I'll be able to wield those hand signs soon." And Sakura's like, "Bitch, you ain't Neji." Fucking wrecks him. That was pretty good. But Sakura got to do something. Yay!
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it's just a little thing happening, just to sort of and also so they're not just time skipping the morning because obviously some stuff has to happen at night, but they're talking about tactics and stuff with their intel, and just little things happening. It's cool. But then I guess we get something a bit more important when Killer Bee and Naruto face down with Tsunade and the Raikage. So what did you think about that little encounter? Because it went on for a little while. Because there's quite a few things happening. So
yeah, we got to learn a little bit more about the sort of the backstory of Killer Bee and the Raikage, which was cool.
And then we see a bit more of the fourth Hokage briefly.
I mean, like the big purpose of this fight was just to kind of delve more into Bee and the Raikage as characters. And I thought, I mean, I don't know, it was. I guess I didn't have a huge amount of things to say about it. I liked it again, but.
Well, I mean, because you also have a bit of the new generation surpassing the old one, which is normal. But I do kind of like seeing the Raikages because when we first see B, he goes on our vacation, and we're like, okay, that's quirky and fun. But then we see that the Raikage, after he got his position, he says, "Killer Bee, you have to stay here. You can't you can't be in danger." It just sort of like taking his leadership position to make sure he doesn't lose B and being too controlling. And, even though, because that's another aspect I didn't know before, because, they're basically bros, so I didn't think about the age difference, because Killer Bee is notably younger than the Raikage, which isn't really, because Killer Bee is also older than Naruto, so, it wasn't really obvious to me, but so there's a generational aspect to them, even though they've been working together for so long, so it's not quite as pronounced as with Naruto, but it's still there, and I didn't notice that before. So you kind of got this.
So it's
thing.
Sort of like the
kind of. Or go on.
Kind of like the Naruto Konohamaru dynamic, if you could call it that.
Yeah, but with a wider age gap, but still.
And of course, here they're actually equals. Konohamaru will never catch up to Naruto. That's not happening.
I don't know, man. Boruto happens. Maybe Konohamaru's there. I guess. I don't know. I don't know much about Boruto, but and you do get the moment with Tsunade deciding to go with Naruto and go against the Raikage because he's being stubborn. But yeah, it was some neat character stuff. And then you had Naruto outspeeding the Raikage because he's too strong, which also sort of like Because we now we sort of have a speed comparison because we also had Sasuke against the Raikage earlier, so we got to see how Naruto's basically the fastest character next to Minato in the series, I think.
He's the fastest in the universe.
Fastest. Got a fucking flash, just zoom. Yeah, but it was
Although then it does
fine.
beg the question, because Sasuke has always been kind of... His speed has been one of his big fighting points.
Right.
But before, I think he was... I forget if he was slower than the Raikage or not.
I think he was... Well, because the Raikage... Maybe he matched the Raikage at best, but I think he would have mentioned that, because that's kind of the point, is that, like, the Raikage is just so fucking fast that, like, he's literally only been outsped once, and he's able to Naruto's able to keep up with him at first. I don't think they mentioned Sasuke's speed, so I don't think Sasuke was quite this fast, which means Biju Naruto is faster than Sasuke. So, at least maybe. Well, because I don't know if the Sharingan, I don't see why it would increase his speed, and, like, that's more of a... Because the thing with the Sharingan and his speed is that it's basically allowed him to sort of do things while going fast, because he can see better through that super speed, which I guess isn't a problem for Raikage and Naruto. I didn't think about that. I'm gonna stop thinking about that, in fact. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Well, because, yeah, Sasuke's got his, we see Sasuke briefly in this stretch of chapters, but he did just get a power-up too, so, I don't know. Because I don't know. How much more do the characters have to grow at this point, I wonder? Like, because I know the series isn't over. Well, because I guess we'll talk about that later. So did you have anything else to say on the Raikage bit? It was fine?
No.
Okay. So moving on a bit, Toby moves out with the Jinchuriki Edo Tenseis. They don't do anything this stretch of chapters, so we don't have to mention that. I just did because I don't know. So anyway, then we get... Is it coming up soon? Maybe. Because there's a bit more smaller fighting. Like, they fight a bunch of Zetsus. Oh, and then Kishimoto ruins everything. Did happen. Okay, so you noticed this, right? When Naruto does all his shadow clones and sends his Biju doppelgangers to go fight the war?
Yeah, but I thought he couldn't do that.
They very clearly established earlier that if he did shadow clones while in this Biju mode, the Ninetales would take Naruto chakra, because that's the thing, there's Naruto chakra, there's Biju chakra, and I guess there's nature chakra too, which I guess becomes Naruto chakra, I don't know. But they very clearly established that if Naruto goes clones while leeching off the Kyuubi's chakra, the Kyuubi will eat all of his Naruto chakra and kill him. But that very obviously does not happen here. So you have Kishimoto setting up a limitation with the shadow clones and then blatantly ignoring it, which is really disappointing. And why even establish the rule if you're not even going to follow it? Like, what?
See, because I guess, like, you could make an argument, which is what I don't like about this, is like, oh, well, he would eat it faster because there's more clones, so maybe Naruto just had enough chakra to survive it, but I feel like...
Which is what he said, but... I mean, just... Kishimoto, think... Like, I don't... It doesn't, like, anger me. It's, like, it's just disappointing, but, like, because it's just an unforgivable, oversight, really, like, is it because it happens so Naruto can save everyone, but like, why not just do Sage Mode and have Sage Mode Naruto? Like, I mean, that's the thing, because all the clones keep changing between, and then that's the other thing, okay, because how many clones are there? There's like, I count at least, like, there's at least a dozen here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, there's more than a dozen clones, or about a dozen clones. So you'd think that they're only a 12th as powerful as Naruto is, give or take. Like, that's kind of the thing with the clones. But then these clones just fucking start wrecking Kages. How strong is Naruto at this point? Am I supposed to accept that he's like 15 times stronger than a fucking Kage? Like, I don't think so. Like, it would make sense if it was just Naruto alone. I don't know, this Shadow Clone thing is fucking me up, man. Like, I've been trying to, like, I've been saying that the Shadow Clones is the most overpowered technique in the series. And now I'm like, Kishimoto tried to include a downside, and then he ignored the downside, so... whatever, I don't know. It's like, how much can I really bitch about it? It's stupid, and doesn't make any sense, and just kind of breaks the setting even further. But I
because
guess
with what I had brought up earlier, I do, like, if, with the potential argument that I posed earlier, why I wouldn't care for that, like, why I'd dislike it even more than, this is just a flaw, Kishimoto just, plot hole, he forgot, and that happens. But with the potential argument that I posed, I feel like that's an even more criminal offense, because, like, then what's the idea of limitations then? Because it's like, oh, this could be a limitation, but it also might not be. So then what even are limitations? What? Ah.
Right, like, what's the point of bringing it up if you're not going to do anything with it? So, yeah, it's like, it's weird because it's, like, unforgivable to the point where I can't even, like, begin to care about it. Like, I mean, it results in, like, you know, we get a bit more of Naruto fighting, and he helps people, and that's cool, I guess. But it still shouldn't have happened. But, like, I don't know, I feel like I should be more mad about it. Well, because, okay, someone said earlier how, on the comments for the last thing, is that they felt that the Kage Summit was where Naruto went to shit for them, and then they proceeded not to explain why or counter any of our comments on the arc, because we like the Kage Summit. And so I wonder if part of the reason we're, like, because at the same time, last arc, during some of the fights, like with Danzo and Toby, like, we just stopped caring. Like, like, I just mentally imagine, like, our eyes glazing over as we just think about the power levels and how fucking crazy some of this shit is. Like, the Toby Conan fight in particular was ridiculous. So I wonder if, like, part of our like of Naruto is sort of like pleasant surprise. Like, we're kind of ignoring some of the worst parts of it because we're just so glad to be enjoying as much of it as we are. I don't think that's the
possible.
Case, but it is possible. Like, because again, last time the fights were, you know, the power levels getting kind of crazy, we just kind of ignored it. And this time we have this incredibly setting-breaking dismissal of the previously established rules. And we're just kind of like, well, that's stupid. I just kind of, part of me wants to move on, but the other part of me wants to unpack why we don't care about this as much. Because if this was Fairy Tail, I would go on about this for an hour or so. Because it's just so normal, and it would evoke all the problems in the series, because it's just the same old shit happening again. And I did go on for an hour. I called it the overly long analytical tirade. But here in Naruto, it's just this one really stupid moment.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, I saw it and I was like, "Oh wait, that's weird. I don't feel like that should be able to happen." But even then, I just kind of glossed over it because I was like, it's Naruto. It's the power system. This just happens."
Right.
Which I feel like
accepted that.
That's kind of hypocritical on my part. Like,
yeah. Well, because that's kind of the thing is that we're I think with Naruto we sort of this happens, because I've had this happen to me before, where I see something that's flawed but interesting, like Danganronpa or the Chaos Head visual novel, where I recognize its problems, but I don't care about them because they don't take away from the interesting aspects. Like for Naruto, the fights there's been a few good ones. Like I don't even think I could make a top 10 list of fights without saying like, oh well, this number 10. It was fine. It was a fight. Like, I don't think I could come up with 10 good fights or have something to say about in Naruto.
Yeah, so the fighting, like, the power system has not been a huge appeal of this series for us.
We've been interested in the characters and the conflicts. You know, even the setting has had a couple world building issues here or there, but it's not bad. You know, that's the part we're interested in. Anything but the fighting, basically. So when something like this happens, that if I was invested in the fights in Naruto, and this game-breaking thing would happen, I'd be pretty fucking pissed. Because this, you know, but this series has more than the fights. So yeah, I think that might be why. You know, like, that's why we like the Kage Summit, not because of the fights, like, oh, Sasuke versus Raikage. That happened. Sasuke versus Danzo. That happened. But we maybe commented a bit on, like, oh, did it work on an emotion level? Did it work on a technical level? But then we were mostly focused on the emotions, the characters, what was going on there. Like with Danzo, oh, there's more nuance to Danzo's character than I thought. That's pretty cool, you know. Though someone mentioned in the comments of the last video that apparently there's some light novels about Itachi that I don't know how canon they are. But what did Danzo do? Danzo, I don't know if they're even, I guess they're translated, but Danzo did something in, I gotta find the comment now because it was, what did Danzo do? Oh no, Danzo was the one who told the village about Naruto being the nine-tailed fox Biju, just out of spite to Hiruzen and Minato, basically. Like, he was so fucking salty that he didn't get the Hokage position that he ruined Naruto's life.
What?
Fuck you, Danzo. Piece of shit.
No.
I don't know if that's canon or not, because, oh yeah, the other thing is, like, last time I was also talking about how Shisui's eyes, like, how did Itachi and Danzo both get an eye? And apparently in Mega Analysis mentioned in one of the games, there's like a story mode thing where we see that, and we see it later in this chapter, in this stretch of chapters too, but Danzo stole Shisui's eye in battle, and Itachi got the other one, after the fact. So, which explained how the eyes got split up, because that's the thing, is eyes normally stay together, that's kind of how the human body works, so I thought it was weird that they got split up. But it was explained, but,
although, at least, like, in this stretch of chapters, when Itachi comes up later, he does talk about how, like, oh, Shisui had already lost an eye because Danzo had it. So that was at least explained here. But the problem with these big, long-running franchises is that when you do get all these different spin-offs and like light novels and other side stories and whatnot, the question then becomes like, how much of this is actually canon? And like,
that's the thing.
I feel like it's a lot to kind of expect everyone who has ever read all of Naruto to also go out and find these side stories, because then it's like, I don't know. I feel like I should be able to understand the story from the story itself, but then when you have all these extra things, it's like, oh well, it's not explained in the story proper, but this light novel, it explains this mechanic or whatever, or this character.
Like in this case, like with the Danzo thing, that shouldn't be in the story, because that's kind of like like okay, like does that really add to his character?
I had some good things to say about Danzo's character.
Let's not ruin it. Exactly. With the Itachi and the Shisui thing, like that was explained in the story, so it's fine. But though I guess on that point, I've answered this off the show, but as far as Boruto goes, we will be covering it in the future, but not after Naruto, for a few reasons. And one of them is that I don't know what the fuck is going on with Boruto, because there's the manga, but that's not as far as the anime, and there's the anime, which is apparently isn't canon. Like, Kishimoto's not working on any of it. Like, he's maybe approving some ideas.
Because apparently the anime is waiting on the manga. Like, the anime hasn't even adapted the film, which also exists, but they're like going to adapt the film.
Here's how I understand it, because the film is like way in the future thing. Like, Boruto's like got a different eye or something like that. Like, the characters are older, but then, so the manga and the anime are prequels, but like in the manga, Sumire just showed up like a couple chapters ago, but in the anime, she was in like the first like 10 episodes like last year, and
she's been there forever.
And this is also the case with the Dragon Ball Super manga and anime, where the anime is farther than the manga, but the manga has some differences. And Toriyama he's like, again, approving ideas and maybe offering some revisions for the manga. But most, like, these are properties that they're being handled in two different mediums, and neither of them have, like, a huge amount of influence from the original creator. So it's almost like a comic book kind of thing, where you have these characters that are being written by people who didn't create them. And so I don't know, like, if we do Boruto on the Nen Show, like, we're probably gonna go to the manga just because it's easier to consume, on a week-to-week basis than like watching 40 episodes or reading 40 chapters. You know, like obviously we wouldn't do 40 episodes, but like I don't even know how we would cover an anime really. We've thought about it, but like it's definitely an ordeal. But yeah, it's just I don't even know like which should I consider canon. The anime has more material, but what is the manga? Like neither have major involvement from Kishimoto, so I don't know what to think. So I don't know anymore. It's all ruined.
And then there's also like I think there's a Scarlet Spring light novel or whatever, which is adapted into the anime, but it was like partially. I don't know if it was written by Kishimoto or partially, but like it's a light novel, but it's canon to the Boruto, and it's in the anime.
See, I'm pretty sure it's not a light novel. It's actually like an extra manga volume that's sort of like a Boruto prequel. I'm pretty sure it was written by Kishimoto because it was numbered. Like, when I first saw those chapters being new, they were numbered as 700 plus 1, 700 plus 2, because it was like an epilogue to Naruto. So I sort of assumed it was Kishimoto's coming up, like laying the groundwork for Boruto so other people could go further with it. Like, again, I'm sure he has some involvement in Boruto, but he's like working on another manga. And manga production, well, because that's the thing is like, speaking of multimedia franchises, Danganronpa has 3 visual novels, an anime sequel, a spin-off like action game, light novels, manga, and all of them have the name of Kazutaka Kodaka on them because he's like the main writer. But his involvement in many of them is dubious at best because like some of those entries are complete shit, and not that Danganronpa is perfect by any stretch of the image. So. There's got to be, I don't know, it's weird. Like, there's got to be production specifics that, and reasons for these names on properties that the author might not be working on. Like another Studio Shaft with Akiyuki Shinbo. His name's on every Shaft production, regardless of how much or how little he's involved in it. So how do you know how much he did on it? I don't know. So I would like to learn more about the production of Dragon Ball Super and Boruto, especially in the question of like, where does the anime supersede the manga or vice versa? Because if the anime is farther, I'm more willing to accept that as being the canon one. But if the manga supersedes it for some reason, okay, I don't know, that's part of the reason we're gonna wait on Boruto. Like, I might try to go into Boruto before we or after we finish Naruto, just out of the Nen Show, just to sort of see what the fuck's going on over there. But, I don't know, man. I don't know about Boruto. It's weird to me. Like, because it's just, like, again, it's so different compared to the typical anime and manga production, I think. So, or at least it seems to be from the outside. And I don't want to make any sweeping assumptions, so... Well, we are way off of Naruto. Okay, finally moving on. We get to the Kages versus Gaara, the old Kages versus a new one. Oh, and the current Tsuchikage is still there too. Alright, so I guess, I don't know, what'd you think about this fight?
There was one little moment that kind of threw me off, especially with, we've had our issues with the elemental system before, but then what confused me was, maybe I'm just misunderstanding something here, because, like, with the thing with, Suigetsu in the water style versus the lightning style, we kind of, I guess, misinterpreted that in the Killer Bee fight. But here, when the Raikage shows up, this is later on into the fight, past the introduction part, but he says, "I'm lightning style, attack me with your earth style ninja." But from what I recall, lightning style is strong. Like, earth style is weak to lightning style, so why would he... I don't know if that's a mistranslation, but...
Maybe they fucked it up. But
I don't
you're right,
think
he did say that.
No, it can't be a mistranslation because the Earth style ninja do try to, like, I don't.
Well, that's it's the translation. Now that you mentioned the translation specifically, it's even weird because he said lightning style, not Raiton. So they can't even be consistent with how. Well, because I think someone mentioned before that Viz has a thing against translation notes, which is fine. Just don't translate your fucking manga to need translation notes and then not put in the translation notes. Sorry, random bit. But yeah, you're right about because lightning is weak to water. No, water beats fire. Fire beats wind.
Wind beats lightning. Lightning beats earth.
So he should be saying wind. Or what did you say? I didn't hear you because I was talking.
But yeah, then wind beats lightning. Lightning beats earth,
and earth beats water. So
I feel like that would be a pretty severe mistranslation to say use, because it says earth style, but maybe like, the translator, did they mean wind? Did they just misread?
Maybe Kishimoto said wind, and the translator misremembered and was thinking Pokemon. Ground beats electric, and that's how they translated it. Because it could have been Kishimoto's mistake or the translator's mistake. I have no idea. Because I'd have to see a fan. Someone suggested we read the fan translation instead of the official. I don't know how you're getting it. Because I have it downloaded, so I just downloaded the entire official translation. So I'm not gonna re-download it. So I'm stuck with and I don't know. I don't know, but that was definitely weird. And someone made a mistake. I was like, I don't know who to attribute the blame to. So I guess as for the rest of the fight itself, or did you have any more to say on that? Because again, like I said earlier, the elemental system did not really come up in a meaningful way, and even in this one time it did, it was bogged down by mistranslation or a mistake on the author's part. So
yeah, that was just the one thing that stood out to me that threw me off. But I mean, this is a fight where like I could, I guess, have similar complaints to like the other. Like the Kinkaku, Ginkaku thing, where like, oh, I don't know these characters, but I feel it's a bit different because they're Kage, so, and also like they're going up against characters who I know.
Yeah, well, because that's the thing is like the first thing you get is Gaara and his dad. Like that's a pretty big.
Well, yeah,
like,
that's pretty big.
And it's you know, even though we technically haven't seen a lot of the fourth Kaze or the third Kaze, whichever one he is before, like we've heard about him, but we've never really seen him. So, like, because we get, you know, his, with his wife and his sister, and we get a little bit more context into Gaara's flashback. But, at the same time, I do kind of feel like the conflict felt a bit easy. Like, his dad just kind of, like, I guess because he did see Gaara's changed a lot, so I guess that's part of it. So, and if they'd spent too much time on it, then it might have been, dragged it down a little bit. And again, there's the other thing is that with the Gaara's sand protecting him, I thought that it was Shukaku, but it turns out it was actually his mom. And, so losing, what did Gaara lose when he lost Shukaku? Like, I don't, he still seems just as strong.
I mean, like, the idea was sort of toyed with because there is, like, that is a flashback that he uses where it talks about his mother's will protecting him, and that was mentioned in the original flashback back in the tuning exams, but, yeah, then it does beg the question, shouldn't Gaara have shouldn't he have lost something when he lost Shukaku, like some sort of power? But I guess you could say that he just got stronger over time, which...
I mean, yeah, I guess he just got so strong as a Kage. And I mean, we didn't see a lot of him between the time skip and him losing Shukaku, I suppose. But though, I mean, I don't know, when I remember his like sand hands before, they were definitely Shukaku shaped, and now they're human shaped, you know, because it's his mother. So I don't know. And I guess the other thing with it is like there's an obvious like symbolic element to it, but at the same time, is his sand just subconsciously becoming his mother? Is his mother's like is there like sort of genetic like first Hokage sort of influence she's having on his powers just all of a sudden? Like, I don't want to think about it too hard.
I've been a pretty big fan of Gaara's character up to this point, even though we've gone over some flaws with it. This is one detail that kind of doesn't sit too well with me, because like I guess I had thought that the sand defense was Shukaku, and I thought that would be like, if you didn't want to half Gaara's power or whatever, you just kind of, he loses that sand shield. I thought that was believable. But I don't know, maybe the loss of the sand spirit doesn't actually decrease his power, which seems weird. Unless I'm just not understanding something with this.
Maybe.
But
well, I
again,
think part of it
last
is that
episode I said it, I gave up on the Naruto power system, so...
Yeah.
Me not understanding it, I guess, is not a big thing. That's just bound to happen beyond this point.
Did you feel emotions when Gaara like started crying though? Like, how did you feel about this whole thing?
I mean, like, the last time we saw, I think the only time in the series we've seen Gaara cry was when like he shed a single tear when with Sasuke,
when he failed to save. Yes.
Yeah, and that made sense in relation to his character. This also, like, I can buy this because, like, now he's actually like sobbing, which like the thing with his mother was like the big character, like that was what kind of defined his character, was that like he killed Yashimaru and he thought that his mother never loved him and his father was out to kill him. So like that was kind of like the foundation of the monster that he was in the Chunin exam. So I can like I can buy into him, breaking down here with this big revelation that, oh no, your mother did love you and I forced Yashimaru to do that.
See,
it's
now
another
I'm
kind of like
if this kind of falls into the Neji versus Naruto trap of where, like, the complete foundation of your character, it was a misunderstanding, LMAO. Like, does this fall into that any?
Well, no, I would disagree with that, because, like, the thing with Gaara was that his father kind of did all this to him. His father put the burden on him, so it was, like, his father created this monster. Whereas, like, with Neji... That didn't change.
Okay,
with Neji,
because his mother was a lie. That part was a lie. But he never knew his mother, so it's not like we would have had that perspective. So, but this is his father insisting that he was lying to him in the past about the mother thing. His mother did love him. Okay, so that's fine. Also, I couldn't help but notice that because I thought the whole thing with the bags on Gaara's eyes was that he was always tired because Shukaku kept him up at night. But then he was born with baggy eyes before he got Shukaku put into him.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
And his dad has it too for some reason, so that I don't understand either.
Unless...
I guess it's part of his powers or something, like, because he kind of doesn't have it at first. Or did he have it at first? And then thought he, like, maybe he did have it at first.
Oh, are you talking about Gaara's father?
Yeah, his father. I mean...
Yeah, because he gets the baggy eyes when he uses his gold dust.
Oh, yeah, okay, I was trying to find it. You're right. So for him it's his powers, so that makes sense. But Baby Gaara has no excuse.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a little... Because obviously the point is to make him recognizable as Baby Gaara, and Gaara's baggy eyes are such an important part to his character that, like, Kishimoto couldn't do it. He couldn't not have it, even if it looks weird, or even if it's also wrong. So, I just thought that was kind of funny, because that is one sad and tired baby. Oh, man. So yeah, I mostly wanted to ask you because, again, I wanted to be interested in Gaara, as I've said 50 times before, so, it didn't resonate with me emotionally. Like, I see it as a character moment, but, and now we've seen that Gaara as Shukaku has, like, actually gone berserk in the Sand Village, so this makes the whole end of the Kazekage arc where everyone loves him, like, even more into question. Like, I know Gaara's killed people, so I'm not gonna open that wound again.
Yeah, I guess for me, like, even though the stuff post Kazekage rescue arc, I've enjoyed. So, like, even with the knowledge that we agreed that the stuff in the Kazekage, like the conclusion of that arc, was a little shaky. But I don't feel as though that, like, I could see why it would negatively influence what happens later on. But I think like what has happened with him since then, I've enjoyed.
I mean, okay. I mean, yeah. Well, it's like, the thing about Gaara since then, like the Kage, like I kind of like it. It's just that I feel like I would like it more if I was more satisfied with Gaara before these two arcs. Like, so, I guess I like the ideas of Gaara's character, but not enough to sort of put myself in the shoes of someone who really likes Gaara up to this point. Cause you say like, oh, you didn't care for the ending of the Kazekage rescue arc. That's still my least favorite moment in the entire manga. I legitimately hate that moment because it's so fucking stupid. Like even like with the pain ending of the arc, I dislike that moment too, but it's more a disappointment. With the end of the Kazekage arc, that made me really mad. I'm sorry, but so yeah, there's a yeah. But anyway, I feel like I get what's going on here with Gaara, so I want to ask you your opinion, but it's still not enough to change me on his character as much as I want to like Gaara more. It's just like there's too much. It's basically the issue with Naruto's backstory not being fully represented, except worse, because Gaara's backstory deserves more focus in the story itself, because he was a real monster, and to have that just kind of ignored doesn't sit well with me. So, even though it's not really being ignored here, but we kind of go into it a bit more, but, I didn't dislike any of this, but, though I was thinking about the Shukaku thing, but, yeah, I'm done with talking about it, so.
And I guess this is sort of another moment where, I think we've moved beyond the whole people dissolving through, like, emotional resolutions thing, but this is, like, another moment where that could have happened, but I think by this point, Kishimoto has given up on the concept, the way that the characters would, like, dissolve emotional resolutions,
yeah,
but I think that's not coming back.
Which is good, but even though it should, like, just accept it. Just Kabuto magic. It's Edo Tensei magic. It's Kabuto. He just did it. Stop thinking.
I mean, we've already called out the flaw for what it is. There's no need to just keep hammering the same point over and over. Right. With repetition.
That's kind of why I didn't want to talk about this moment with Gaara a lot, because I've done that enough.
That's my fault. I brought it up.
Or what was that?
As I said, it's my fault. I brought it up again. Crucify me in the comments.
Rest in peace. Okay, so I guess we cut away from the Kages a bit because we get another fight between Pain and Itachi with Naruto and Killer Bee. So we got some of the strongest characters going up against each other. So we finally get Itachi talking with Sasuke again, and there was a bit that the thing about Itachi. I guess we get to the thing about Itachi that is he sort of did this morally gray thing, except I remember who was it? Resident Pilot or I forget who did their Itachi rant. Because the issue with it is I feel like the narrative is treating Itachi as, sort of being in the right. Like, because he's so intelligent, like, if there, like, because I suggested, like, oh, maybe he should have waited for the third Hokage to finish negotiations between the Uchiha, but he got his orders and he acted. Like, I feel like, that was Itachi's choice. But he's so smart that I can't see that as being the wrong choice, because anything I could have come up with, like, oh, maybe she should have done this, maybe he should have done this. Well, Itachi's so ridiculously smart that Itachi probably thought about that and 50 other things, and so I feel like because he's so smart, like, even though it's supposed to be a great choice, like, Itachi did nothing wrong, and what sort of corroborates that is, kind of to skip ahead a bit, because, so what happens is they fight for a bit, Itachi, the crow in Naruto triggers when Itachi tries to use the Mangekyo, and, it convinces Itachi, it breaks the Edo Tensei, which I feel like makes sense, because the Edo Tensei is, it ties back to Kabuto and Orochimaru, and Orochimaru has traditionally had some rather poor dealings with the Sharingan. So the Sharingan, we've talked about how it can be kind of bullshit sometimes. But at least it's consistent in how it just fucks over Kabuto and Orochimaru. So, I mean, and it's more of Itachi being, like, super smart and stuff. But what you get is, like, at the end of they fight Pain, and where is it? Why can't I find it? Oh yeah, there it is. Naruto says to Itachi, like, as Itachi sort of, like, goes off, Naruto says to him that you've done enough for this village. Like, so this is Naruto, the main character, accepting Itachi's, like, self-sacrifice that also involved the massacre of Sasuke's entire clan. So I just feel like it's kind of, like, vindicating Itachi's choice, and again, considering the messages of peace and not violence, like having this character who's done incredibly violent things be celebrated all damn near. How do you feel about that?
Because one of the points of praise we had for Danzo was that, like, even though he had, I guess, like, he had good intentions in mind at the end of the day, but ultimately, like, his actions did not, like, the means did not justify the ends he was trying to reach. And so, as a result, when he died, he kind of went out with a whimper. He didn't really do anything in his death, even though he tried to, like, seal away Sasuke and Tobei, apparently. He tried to seal them away. But he failed.
Sasuke, my favorite character.
So his death really didn't accomplish anything. But with Itachi, he kind of had similar questionable motives, which, I mean, like massacring an entire clan to protect a greater group of people, the village. That's a morally gray area, but he doesn't, like, it's, I guess his the end result with him is not as morally gray, I guess, or at least like what was brought up here. It's what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, you kind of have the main character, sort of the moral center, like, supporting Itachi's choice. You know, maybe not directly, but well, especially the way he puts it. You've done enough for the village. Now it's my turn. I'm like, oh, Naruto's gonna kill all the Uchihas too. It's his turn. No, something's wrong there. Yeah, it's just like, I mean, I've seen a few people in the comments just sort of, you know, like, Itachi's just sort of like Kishimoto's favorite, and so the one point, because Mega-Analyst really likes Itachi's character, and we've talked about it in private a bit, and he still hasn't gotten back to me on some of my issues, so maybe he will after this episode. Because the one point I sort of thought might have been interesting is that the reason Itachi's seen as good is because it's from Sasuke's point of view, and it makes sense for him to see Itachi as sort of this almighty good, and who did nothing wrong, even though he definitely did something questionable that should really be commented on, but really isn't being commented on. So,
yeah, because then Naruto also says, no, that was...
Yeah, this would have been the opportunity to sort of call Itachi out on what he did, but he never really gets that. So I just disagree with it. Itachi is important for, like, Sasuke's character, and for that, like, I'll allow it. But, like, it's kind of hard to call him a good character on his own when, again, he's so comically intelligent that he just sort of breaks my brain trying to comprehend it, and his morally questionable actions aren't really being commented upon, so it's hard for me to get behind that aspect of his character too. So like, what's left? Like, he's important to the story, so I'll allow it, but I just hesitate to call him a good character, because, again, it's just... His character is mostly in service to the rest of the story rather than being his own character. I'm not sure when talking about this point, so okay. I just thought I'd get that out of the way, because that was the most, like, this was the opportunity, because, again, like, Sasuke is sort of like the biggest fault in his plan was he thought that Sasuke would go to become a hero, but he didn't know that the truth would make Sasuke go dark. But at the same time, like, Sasuke is wrong for going against what Itachi wants, so, like, Itachi kind of fucked up a little, but even then, like, he had this part of his plan where he was, you know, ready to sort of make sure Sasuke didn't do anything bad with his eye crow thing, and it's still, you know, now Naruto's vindicating Itachi, and Itachi's putting his faith in Naruto. So, I don't know. I mean, I probably have some more thinking to do about it, but anyway, what did we have to say about the fight itself?
I mean,
we're done with that.
It's a fight. Characters have powers, and they play off each other.
Well, I guess it confirms something I'd been thinking about a while ago with how the Pain's main body is capable of doing all the things that his individual bodies were without, because each of the one body could summon, the one body can do his repel and gravity stuff and chakra draining. So, but the main body can do all of that. So he's, it's a fight between some pretty strong characters. But yeah, it's a fight.
Yeah, I could say this. I could use the same praises I've said before towards other fights, because with the Edo Tensei, characters interact and basically anything like that. So it's cool in the same way that the other fights were cool. I mean, one thing that I did think was kind of funny was because Pain's body was so decrepit that he was just kind of like leaning on Itachi, so they looked like best bros when they were just walking around.
Yeah, I thought because the Edo Tensei didn't bring him back at his peak, which I get. That's kind of weird. Maybe I shouldn't think about it too hard. Which that's the thing. It's like we're not. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. That's not.
No.
Yeah, but it's because we've been saying that. I've been saying that a lot. But it's like. But yeah, it's like shit. With the Edo Tensei, does he bring them back as they were shortly before their death, like at full health, kind of, or does he have the potential to bring them back when they were at their peak? You know, like could he bring So like if he brought back a character who died from old age, would they still be at old age? Like with Nagato, he's kind of a special case because he's not that old. He's younger than fucking Obito and Kakashi, but he's just happens to be old from his specific techniques and powers. So, or aged rather. I don't know. It's just the thing that I guess they never really commented on with the Edo Tensei. But oh yeah, and after the fight, you did get this bit with Naruto. He does his shadow doppelgangers, and then he loses his Biju form, and I'm just like, well, Killer Bee says that, oh, you've overused the Biju chakra mode, and I'm like, there's way more wrong here than just that, Kishimoto. You forgot. Oh yeah, and one thing Itachi and Naruto talk about here is about how Naruto needs to remain strong and remember how he got that strength rather than forgetting all the people around him, which Itachi and Tobi have done. As Itachi says, Sasuke. Sasuke did that. Yeah, Sasuke has forgotten his friends. That's what I was trying to get to. Because, which, fits with the, again, Itachi says it right there about how being Hokage is, more than just not being recognized, but recognizing, who supported you. So, kind of building into the climax, which we haven't gotten yet, but we will. So, yeah, just, I don't know, some fine interactions. So anyway, I guess we get to the part I was talking about earlier where the Naruto Biju clones start showing up at the battles and are really fucking strong. Like, he almost immediately shows up and he doesn't destroy the second Tsuchikage, but he fucks him up. And I was like, holy shit, okay, this is, again, this is like Naruto at a fraction of his power tussling with Kages. Like, I guess he had the surprise advantage, but even then, like, he's still pretty damn strong. So, I mean, I guess more than that, or you were going to say something, or? Actually,
no, because I realized what I was going to say wasn't correct.
Okay, never mind. Oh yeah, I guess there's not much to say, but there is the moment where Sasuke shows off his new eyes and attacks Zetsu. But we don't get much more than that. I just was like, Sasuke! And then we never see him again. The stretch of chapters. I was like, no, come back.
Oh, he'll be coming back. He'll be coming back.
We're almost done here. I think it's just we get the Naruto fighting the Raikage. See, and now I think it was a mistranslation earlier because now they're like, oh, we need wind to beat the Raikage, and that's elementally correct. I believe that's wind beats lightning.
Yeah.
So and I mean this fight, I think I like this a bit better than some of the earlier ones, like not all of them, because at least this is probably the one that has anything notable going on from a technical standpoint, because I like the how Naruto wins, because it's kind of funny where it's like the third Hokage was ashamed of his one scar because he's the unstoppable spear and the immovable impenetrable shield,
but he did it to himself. He just fell on himself and stabbed himself.
It's so it's kind of funny, and I like that because it's just so like, oops, he fell on himself, and Naruto deflecting his arm into him. That's it works, it beats him, and then you get Naruto doing a bunch of stuff, and what I kind of like about this fight is it's not just Naruto using his tail beast form. He goes into sage mode for a bit to use the Rasen Gon. So he could instead of the Biju bomb, because he can't even use the Biju bomb, but he needs the Rasengan specifically. So yeah, it was cool.
No, so he went into Sage mode also because apparently Sage mode is a little faster than Biju mode.
Yeah, well, I don't remember about the physical strength of Biju mode, but I remember this physical strength of Sage mode is really high, which makes sense if he's deflecting his arm to into his body. He needs a bit more strength. I think Biju mode is physically stronger though, or at least I would expect it to be. But I don't remember if it's been explicitly mentioned which is stronger. But,
or maybe it's not necessarily that Sage mode was faster, but that he can react faster.
Possibly.
Just because nature energy.
But anyway, I guess after that cool little fight, there's the Mizukage.
Now, I do kind of like. On one hand, I like the Mizukage fight because he is just like, hey, "This is how you beat me. Why aren't you beating me? You all suck." But and then at the same time, maybe it gets a little too. Because I don't know. Because you do need kind of tonal relief in the war. But the way that it's like all the faceless ninja, they're just like, maybe it's more so just because I remember experiencing this fight in the anime and I was like, God, this is so slow.
Well, because a lot of people bitch about this fight because, he's talking about his abilities and he won't shut up. But like, I think that's kind of the point.
That's the point, because it's like he wants them to defeat him because he doesn't want to be fighting for the Akatsuki.
Yeah, he's like, fuck
so
this,
that makes sense.
Take me out. And and they're still having trouble with him. Like, well, at first it's honestly almost, it does definitely feels comic because like, he's like, no, you idiot. He's like, no, you idiots, do this. And it's like, well, you're too strong. Like, I just imagine them like being whiny and because they're just faceless guys. So we can't. And he's like, no, attack. This isn't me. Attack me, you fuckwits. Like, I think it's.
But then I do kind of like how at the end, like getting towards the end of the fight when it actually starts to pick up and become less one-sided. I do sort of like how he stops giving them answers. Because realistically, he's a Kage. He would enjoy battle. So, and also it's kind of like to help them. Because like he says, if you can't beat me with all your power, with me, like not like if you need me to give you hints, then there's no way you're going to be able to win this war.
Mm-hmm. I forget if that fight ends or not. Because he gets like trapped in the pyramid. But I don't remember if he quite got beaten yet. So, because we're getting close to the end of the stretch of chapters. Oh my god, I don't have to edit a 4-hour podcast? Oh my god. Yay.
This is still up there with our longer ones, though.
Unfortunately. Somehow, right? Like, I'm glad we didn't read more than 100 chapters. So I guess moving on a bit, because you get the bit where like all the Naruto clones start arriving at their specified points.
And they're figuring out the Zetsu problem.
Yeah, and then he runs into Tsunade's lover, who recognizes Naruto as someone else they kind of there's a bit of a moment there. And so, okay, I've heard this as criticism before. I'm not sure if I agree, but Naruto coming in kind of like, because he's so much stronger than everyone that he like, I don't know, does it invalidate all the previous like fights? Because like, Naruto just could have come in at any time and ended the war. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure if I agree, because at least there was attempts at character moments, even if not all of them landed. So like again, like to go back to the Pain arc with all the other fights against Pain, is like with Pain it's Konoha at risk, and so Konoha is its people, so it makes sense to focus on more of those people. Like Konohamaru gets a little moment. It'd be, they didn't feel like time wasters because even though Naruto comes in and saves the day, like you're still getting this conflict with Pain versus Konoha. So but with this, like the Shinobi World, I'm not sure how I feel about it. Like, I don't have a problem with Naruto coming in, maybe, except for the earlier established problem of just breaking the established rules of how the Biju mode works. Like, I don't know, and I guess I haven't seen more than that. Like, how much more fighting would we have needed, I guess? Like, it's already maybe even a little much. Like, there's one or two fights, like, I'd maybe rather have been better, or, I don't know, we're about done, I guess, so, yeah, the swordsman kind of gets sealed up. And then
so everything seems to be going well. Everyone's getting beaten. Everyone's getting sealed up. But then the cliffhanger we leave off on today.
Well, we don't get to talk about him a lot today, but Mother fucking Madara Uchiha, one of the strongest characters in the series, apparently. Is it Rinne Tensei Madara Uchiha with the internal Mangekyo Sharingan and Rinnegan Dojutsus with the Rikido paths. I'm not going to go into the whole copy pasta, but there's a really great copy pasta about how many fucking abilities Madara has, and it's just like fucking ridiculous, and it's amazing. So yeah, he shows up, and begs the question of like, who's the man behind the mask? Because if he's not Madara Uchiha, who could he be? It's Obito.
Yeah.
It's
now that we've gone through and like reread everything, I'm kind of feeling that sort of disappointment that I'd imagine. Because imagine like when was the Tenchi or the Kazekage thing? Because when he was first revealed, surely this has been like at least like 5 years of build up for this reveal.
Yeah, it's been a while. And I mean, we'll talk about it next time because I have some comparisons of other media that have had similar twists aimed at children and that I think have done it better. Because at this point, I don't think I cared. Like, I'm not like I mean, maybe I'll change when I actually finally read the Obito reveal. Because again, I've only seen like the big panel of him, his face finally shown, and so I don't actually know much about the context of the actual moment. And maybe it'll be driven home to the point where I'll be like really disgusted. At this point, I'm just like I know already. I don't care. Like, I know that it gets revealed. Like, I'm not sure how much I'm invested in the moment, but I do think it's worth discussion on plot twists and, foreshadowing, though, just because it is a clumsy example, again, because, like, even back in high school, everyone was like, it's Obito. Like, once you saw the fucking Toby in the mask, it's Obito.
But at least for, like, see, my original problem when I was watching the anime, just because I did not understand things, and I jumped to assumptions that weren't correct. At least what I've noticed, I've picked up on, like, in revisiting the manga, was that there were a lot of hints dropped leading up to this that, that was not the real Madara.
Yes.
And so, like, even then when he comes out, when he's first summoned and he's like, oh, so I see you finally managed to tame that brat Nagato or whatever. And he's like, wait, Edo Tensei, this isn't Rinne Rebirth. So, like, these were things that were brought up back in, like, after Pain betrayed Toby. And then, like, he's talking about Rinne Rebirth. So, like, that was mentioned before. And also what will happen later when he kind of breaks out of the Edo Tensei. We've already seen that that's possible because Hanzo temporarily did it. Itachi had a weird workaround to break the Edo Tensei.
Yes. And I remember hearing that Madara does it too.
I can't really fault the moment for what I might have initially, just because, like, the setup is there. Like, Madara Uchiha, I mean, like, the big twist, there had been a quite a bit of foreshadowing to it, so I can't say that, like, oh, this came out of nowhere, this is like a Toriyama plot twist.
I want to talk more, but I also want to actually read it, because I'm definitely curious about Madara, because, we've heard about his character before, with Toby lying about pretending to be Madara and his backstory, so we've gotten bits of him, but now actually seeing him is going to be different, and I've only heard things, so I kind of, luckily we're, in case, I did mention this before, is we are doing an episode sooner, we're doing one next week, where we'll be reading up to chapter 627, so I'll try and include that in the description, and because I want to read about Madara. I want to learn about Madara. I want to see him destroy all the Kages because fuck the power levels. All right.
And so yeah, if we're talking about one other sort of like because like with Sasuke's character, I know like a lot of what I've come to. So I mean like. My opinion of his character has not come through, like, things I just didn't understand, but just, or, how do I phrase it? Like, a lot of the things that I knew about him were recontextualized over this read-through, so I've been able to appreciate his character more. So I'm interested to see if I'll have a similar thing with Madara, because, again, at the time when I initially was getting into all this, I was, like, I was all but done with the Naruto plot, so it's possible that I just didn't pay full attention to the details. So, I mean, I think it was the same Sasuke Shoto fan who also said that you guys are I'm curious to see how you react to Madara, because he's another cool character, and other people have talked, they've said good things about Madara, so I'm looking forward to experiencing his character again and seeing if I will like him.
Yeah, I mean, we've already liked the war, like, we have some issues with it for sure, but but at the same time, I feel like I've liked it more than I might have feared I would like. Like, I was expecting all these fights to be completely pointless, and basically all of them to be Ginkaku, except even worse. Like, even that one, there's at least an inkling of something there. It wasn't a complete waste of time, and it's plot relevant for later. So even if it fails on its own, it still had to happen to some degree. I do think it could have been better, or something could have been changed around to make it work. Or be more interesting.
And I've had sort of a similar experience where I've been like, as I've been reading this, I'm like, okay, this is good now, but I know it gets worse later. And then like as we go through each arc, I'm like, okay, but
where's the get worse later part?
Worse later. Yeah, it hasn't happened. It hasn't really happened yet. Like we've we've had flaws with it, but it's not like the, oh, this is unbearable to read anymore part. That hasn't happened yet, which I thought maybe would happen.
Right. It's still, like, I mean, maybe it would have been unbearable to read if we decided to read, like, literally 116 chapters in practically one day. Then it might have been pretty unbearable. but that's true of almost anything. So, anyway, we'll catch you guys next week. Thanks for listening. We've kept you here long enough. Bye.